What? Compared to the cheering citizens, King looked dumbfounded. What happened before him was too weird. Hammond was about to bite him to death. Who knew he was about to use the Desire Judge's weird card? Dedu stiffened all over his body, suddenly fell to the ground, his face full of pain and grimness, his body twitched slightly, as if he had suffered a stroke. Saitama did it. He watched dumbfoundedly at the dignified dragon-level weirdo falling to the ground for no reason, even half a lifetime. He subconsciously thought that Saitama had rushed to attack Hammond. However, after another thought, he denied the idea. If Saitama had taken the shot, Hammond had already become a sparse corpse. How could it be intact? Since it's not Saitama, who did it? He was confused. Hammond's appearance was intact, indicating that the injuries that caused it to be cut off came from the body. It was obviously severely injured internally. However, he really couldn't think of any strong man in the world that could do something similar to Hammond. The stunt of hitting cattle from across the mountain, inflicting heavy damage to it without any damage on the outside, this incredible ability is amazing. However, if he lowered his body and turned his ears to Hammond's mouth, perhaps he would understand the truth. But, damn it, it's old. The old disease has a heart attack at this moment. Ah. Huh. Medicine. Medicine. Damn it, when the medicine stays in the clothes and upgraded to become a dinosaur, I broke my clothes again, damn it. I'm going to die. But I'm not reconciled. Clearly I can kill King immediately. Obviously I'm one step closer to my dream, but why? Why are you old? God will make me fall short. Hammond's body twitched slightly because of the colic of the heart. He didn't have the slightest strength in his whole body. He was breathing fast, staring at the king who was looking down at him, and his face was unwilling. However, his pupils were slightly divergent at the moment, and his consciousness was even more intense. Gradually blurred, most of the body has gone to hell. Dream. My dream of rebuilding the dinosaur family is over. Before he plunged into darkness, he still remembered his dream of persisting for decades, but unfortunately, everything was gone. His luck was too bad. He was upgraded to a dinosaur, and he still stubbornly followed him with old problems such as heart disease. Before running arbitrarily in L City and M City, the violent activities and high emotions deeply stimulated his heart, and then caused a heart attack at a critical moment, causing him to die, and decades of persistence vanished. More importantly, he died inexplicably, which added a greater reputation to the king, who was quick to kill. The citizens who witnessed his death and the audience in front of the TV attributed his death to the king, thinking that King used weird things. Superpower beheaded him. Alas, sad. King. Hammond died unjustly, and the citizens escaped from the shadow of death. They were very excited, their faces blushing, and they yelled, "Kill the dragon-level weirdo and save their great hero King." Here to express their gratitude for King's life-saving grace. King. The audience in front of the TV was infected by the citizens, and they screamed vigorously. They looked at the king high above the camera in admiration. He was their hero and the most powerful man on the surface. What? The corner of King's mouth twitched, and he looked at the cheering citizens stupidly. I killed the dragon-level weird again. What can I say? I was so frightened that I froze and didn't move, so that the credit for killing the dragon-level weirdo can be placed on me. You are afraid that it is not myopia of 3000 degrees. King. I love you. King. King looked at the fanatical citizens and sighed slightly. Alas, come on, just be happy for you. King. What the hell is this boring expression? Allosaurus has been paying attention to King's every move. After seeing King sigh, his eyes widened and his face was full of surprise. Has King really despised the dragon-level weirdness? After killing the dragon-level weirdo, there is no trace of happiness, but rather lonely. Oh, yes, a strong man of the level of King has no longer been interested in pursuing glory. His only pursuit is probably to find a rival. The kind of invincible loneliness should be uncomfortable. City Z. Huh? That King. Sigh? The big-eyed weirdo stared at the king with piercing eyes. He clearly killed the dragon-level weird, and obviously got another great credit. He clearly let his fame reach the world again. Why? Why would King sigh? Is that an empty sigh? Yes, King is the most powerful man on the surface, and he can't beat the cold from the heights. Under his glorious appearance, he must be lonely in snow like emptiness. He has reached the strongest, and even the dragon-level weird never gave him anything. The interest in fighting, the loneliness that no one can beat, perhaps others will never understand. He chuckled. King. You are a big threat to our association. What should I? How to deal with you? City G. The fourth atomic warrior of the S-class hero sharpened the apple with his knife, staring at the TV for an instant. Sigh of the strong. I dare to be called the strongest man before passing my level. King. Although you are very strong, in comparison, I admire the old martial arts man in Z City even more. As for you, you are still a little tender. City Z. The third S-class hero, Bongu, has silver hair, a slightly bowed body, and standing with his hands behind him. Behind him is a steaming lobster hot pot. His only disciple, Cha Lanzi, is actively adding seasonings to the hot pot. Master, the hot pot is ready. After a long while, Cha Lanzi yelled to Bongu. However, there was no response from Bongu. He looked up at Bongu suspiciously, and saw Bongu fixedly looking at the TV screen. Master, what's so good about this? Didn't it mean that King killed a dragon-level weird? Hurry up and eat the hot pot, or the dishes will be cooked in a while. Cha Lanzi leaned over and took a few glances, and found that it was the latest live broadcast of the dinosaur invasion in M City. He happened to see the scene where King killed the dragon-level weird and was sought after by the people. Bangu retracted his gaze from the TV screen and suddenly said to Cha Lanzi, "Cha Lanzi, do you want a junior?" What? Cha Lanzi looked at the serious Bongu in a daze, and didn't know how to answer for a while. Old man, I found a good seed. King did not expect that his every move was seen by people, and he was misunderstood by all kinds of misunderstandings. He clearly felt that everyone put the credit for killing the dragon-level weirs on him, but he was slightly moved in the eyes of those with a heart. Become the emptiness of the strong. Invincible and lonely. What is this all about? Fortunately, he didn't know everyone's thoughts. Otherwise he would be dumbfounded, and everyone's imagination was too rich. It's another 4-star card. King ignored the inexplicable pursuit of the citizens, lowered his body on Hammond, glanced at Hammond's huge body. His heart was hot. Hammond was defined as a dragon-level weird by the association, and he was calculated according to the usual card level. The card level of the dragon monster should be 4 stars. He raised his brows and touched Hammond expectantly. Ding. Congratulations to host for obtaining a 3-star monster card Tyrannosaurus. King's mouth twitched slightly. Samsung card? Shouldn't dragon monsters correspond to 4-star monster cards? Is this dinosaur man in front of him a pseudo-dragon level monster? Oh. Think about it carefully. The dragon monster represents the disaster level, not the combat effectiveness. Perhaps the dinosaur man in front of him has caused a certain disaster before he was promoted to the dragon rank. The actual combat effectiveness is not too high, so the system evaluation was given a 3-star card. Card level. Alas, I'm so happy. He sighed in his heart. Bad luck. Take this opportunity and escape. Allosaurus looked at the people's attention completely on King, and King was lamenting that there was no rival in the world, lonely as snow, and everyone ignored him. Not only did he not get angry, but he was overjoyed, and he tried to slip away quietly. Go. He surrendered before seeing the situation, and then he betrayed King and threw King at Hammond. Repeatedly, he showed the villain style to the fullest. It is estimated that King has been displeased with him, so stay and wait until King reacts. I'm finished. Thinking back now, he really wanted to slap himself twice, but he said that his hand was short and couldn't touch his face. I will write down these 2 slaps for the time being. Afterwards, slap others in the face. Now it is important to escape. The dinosaur man is going to run away. King, kill him. However, his figure was too large and eye-catching, and a little movement was immediately noticed, and the citizens shouted. Hurry up. Follow King to death. This time we must capture the process of King killing the weird person. When Dale and the others heard this, their eyes lit up. Just now they were patronizing the escape and missed the shot of King killing the weirdo. They regretted it afterwards. The shots shot by King were worth a lot of money, and they obviously had the opportunity to capture the priceless shots. Down, but unfortunately missed it. When they sighed, they never expected God to give them another chance. Huh. Allosaurus. King came back to his senses and was shocked. His hatred for Allosaurus rose to his heart just now. This despicable dinosaur dared to surrender and almost killed him under the fangs of Tyrannosaurus. He secretly vowed before to string Allosaurus for barbecue, sprinkle some cumin by the way, and start eating after pinching the ends. It is definitely a rare and nutritious game. When the citizens shouted, Allosaurus immediately froze and did not dare to flee again. Even if the exit was right in front of his eyes, he could escape as long as he leapt hard. However, he did not dare. He knew he could not escape. Although his speed is quite fast, but compared with Velociraptor, it is far behind. Even Velociraptor's speed dinosaur has not escaped the claws of King, let alone he is clumsy. Therefore, he only thought for a second, and decisively stopped running away. Ha. Ha ha, you. Hello. He turned stiffly, laughed a few times, and then looked at the slowly flying King with anxiety. King, release your Inferno Warrior's explosive heatwave cannon. The Emperor's mouth cannon. No, no, it should be the use of weird and unpredictable superpowers like killing the dragon-level weird Tyrannosaurus. The citizens looked at King and Allosaurus with excitement and expectation. They opened their eyes and stared at each person and dragon carefully, for fear of missing the slightest detail. As the king approached, cold sweat dripped quietly on the forehead of the Allosaurus dinosaur, and he swallowed saliva again and again, and the crotch became more anxious to urinate, exposing the panic in his heart. King stared at the Allosaurus, thinking secretly about how to deal with it. Allosaurus was not low in strength, and could not get rid of it when the ghost-level monster card possessed his body. Using the dragon-level monster card was wasted and entangled. The Allosaurus was fighting in 2 battles, almost wanting to collapse, and sneaking at King in his heart. It's done. King kept staring at me. Is it thinking of how to kill me? He must be very angry when he treated King like this before. I'm dead. What to do? What to do? Well, maybe there is a way. He took a deep breath, puffed, knelt decisively, and shouted, I surrender. What? The corner of King's mouth twitched. What are you doing this trick again? Ha ha. However, King disagrees, and the other people are shocked. Surrendered. Surrendered? Ghost-level weirdo surrendered to King? The ghost-level weirdo was so scared that he surrendered to King? The citizens trapped in the shelter looked dumbly at the Allosaurus kneeling on the ground. This kind of cartilage is really a ghost-level weirdo. Is that a lie? Shouldn't ghost-level weirdos be those majestic demon kings? How did it become a wall of grass? The surrender of Allosaurus subverted the image of ghost-level weirdness in many people's minds. FCK, the ghost-level weirdo surrendered to King? King is mighty, and with his momentum, he forced a ghost-level weird to land, which is the first time ever. Hi. King is probably not only the strongest man, but also the strongest on the surface. When a person stops there, he immediately frightens the ghost-level monster to kneel and surrender. It is really terrifying. The audience in front of the TV also took in air conditioning frequently, staring at the surrendering Allosaurus and the, usually, King, and they all came up with the same thought. King is invincible. Master King, I surrender, I surrender. Allosaurus wept bitterly and repented loudly. I was blinded by lore just now. I actually wanted to kill you and kill innocent people. I know I deserve to die, but who is not in life? I will make mistakes. Please give me another chance to reform. I will be a dragon again, serve the people, and work for the welfare of the people. In the future, I will only look after you and kill the evil weird people who destroy our homeland. King watched the performance of Allosaurus, his face was speechless, and he knew in his heart that this kind of repetitive villain would definitely not surrender sincerely. If there is a good chance in the future, it will definitely bite itself back, and this kind of bad weird person, he really didn't want to take it back as a mount, so he just killed it? Allosaurus slapped his chest and vowed loudly, Master King, I will definitely change my past mistakes in the future, actively do good, work hard to do good, and make up for the mistakes I made. Smelly King, let go of that dragon-level weirdo and let me come. Just as King was falling into contemplation, there was a sudden cry from the sky. At the same time, a green light swept over quickly, which was the long-overdue tornado. Eh? King looked at the tornado lacing like a shooting star in surprise. That's the second of the S-rank heroes, the trembling tornado. The citizens who were cheering for King stared blankly at the tornado standing between King and Allosaurus, and they were silent for a while. Humph. Tsunere, the standing tornado holding his chest, snorted, What? King, you are known as the strongest man, but you didn't kill the dragon-level weird after you came so long. Instead, you confronted the weird. What others said is so powerful. She stretched out her hand to point to King, and said with certainty, The winner of this bet is destined to be me, the trembling tornado. Huh. A bet? King thought for a while before remembering that he and Tornado seemed to have made a bet. Well, I remember, we did have a bet. The one who kills the dragon-level weirdo wins first, right? Right? You said so? Asshole, you didn't take the bet on your mind at all. Tornado squeezed his small hand, his eyes rolled, and angrily said, What? In order to win this bet, I bet day and night chasing the dragon-level weirdo. You almost forgot to bet? King, you are too much. The citizens stared blankly at the two facing each other in midair, gambling. The one who kills the dragon monster first wins. They look weird, their eyes can't help but float to Hammond, whose body hasn't completely cooled off. King seems to have won. Tornado has mistaken a dragon-level weirdo. The weird she is fighting over with King is just a ghost-level disaster. When Zeke, who was far away in City A, saw this scene, he couldn't help but pat his forehead. Sending a tornado to City M was a big mistake. With King, no matter how chaos in City M, no matter how weird people are, it only takes time. Enough, King can solve all of them one by one. Letting the tornado go is making trouble. Originally, King's excellent performance has won the cheers of the citizens, which is very helpful to eliminate the bad influence of the association, but the tornado has completely destroyed the good situation. The audience in front of the TV twitched. Eldest sister, are you 3-year-old Loli? The dragon-level weirdo is dead. The surrendered bone is just an incompetent ghost-level weirdo. Don't fight. Hurry up and let King take care of it. We have to watch King kill the weird. Oh, that's the weirdo who ran to M City, right? At the same time, Saitama, who had been looking for the weird for a long time, ran to the shelter and found the Allosaurus standing in the shelter with a big hole. Allosaurus was anxiously awaiting the final judgment, and suddenly found a bittern egg attacking him fiercely. He snorted and dismissed Saitama. Who did he think he was? King. HMPH, if it weren't for King's nose, Lousy would sit on you to death. Forehead. In midair, King looked at Tornado with a slight embarrassment. The last bet was purely to get rid of Tornado's entanglement and casually said. He didn't expect Tornado to be so serious and persevering to defeat him. Tornado stared at King with his hands on his hips. Smelly King, whether you remember the bet or not, in short, I will definitely win this time. Boom. However, as soon as the tornado Tsunere's voice fell, there was a muffled noise from behind, and then the ticking sounds of scattered objects falling to the ground continued to sound. After finishing work, you can go to the supermarket to sell it. Saitama shook his gloves casually, glanced at the King and the tornado that were still facing each other in midair, and then ran to the M City Special Supermarket in a hurry, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The tornado stiffened and turned to stare at Allosaurus. At this moment, Allosaurus had already become a mess of flesh, and its head was so thin that it could not be distinguished. Its huge body fell with a bang, and the flesh was splashed. With blood flowing across, the Allosaurus, who likes to be smart, died without even making a scream. The tornado was stunned, the King was stunned, and the citizens were even more stunned. How did Allosaurus die? Who killed it? Looking at the head injury of the Allosaurus, it is obvious that it was broken by someone with a heavy object. This injury is particularly familiar, much like the appearance of a king who beats a strange man with a punch on weekdays. For a while, the citizens focused their eyes on the King again, and their eyes gradually became frenzied. They must be staring at the King. However, their naked eyes could not even catch the afterimage of the King's shot. Killing Tron. This is the King. Whether it is power or speed, it is the Supreme King. The undoubtedly strongest man in the world King. Our city. Flesh stared at the TV screen, his face was solemn. King. So fast, not only did others not catch a trace of King, even he, who is known for his speed, never saw any trace of King moving. How fast is it? I dispatched to kill the weird in an instant, and then returned to the place in an instant. It didn't take a breath of time to come and go. If it weren't for the weird person to die suddenly, I am afraid that no one would know that King had moved just now, at a terrifying speed. I thought that even if King is the strongest man, I can still beat him in terms of speed, but now it seems that my speed seems inferior to King. King, for the sake of dignity, it is time for us to formally compete in a speed battle. See who is the king of speed. Tornado glared at King and said loudly, King, you are too despicable. Take advantage of my distraction and kill the weirdo. You are shameless, this time the bet doesn't count. Huh. King was taken aback, pointing to himself, I killed it? He was also ignorant of the death of Allosaurus. He once thought it was Tornado that killed Allosaurus with superpowers, but it depends on the appearance of Tornado. It seems that killing Allosaurus is someone else. Saitama. He moved in his heart and quickly glanced around Allosaurus. He didn't find the bald head that could reflect the light. However, he saw an interesting leaflet, the supermarket sale leaflet. It really was Saitama. He thought wickedly, this guy wouldn't be going to the supermarket for special sale, passing by and killed Allosaurus by the way. Hey, King, you ignore me again, I want to fight you. The tornado is crazy, and the bet was lost. He didn't pull King from the strongest. I hate it. I reject. King curled his lips, how could he have the time to accompany you in a duel? Tornado stared at King with arms akimbo, smelly King, you coward, spineless. King glanced at the strange-faced citizens and twitched his mouth. Hey, Tornado, shall we make another bet? In order to perfuse the tornado, what about another bet? Well, it's a deal. The one who wins this time will definitely be me, the trembling Tornado. Tornado pointed at King, and Tsunere said, however, last time it was your winning criterion, so this time I will set the content of the test. This time we will test superpowers. Superpower? King was taken aback, and said, I don't understand. The tornado looked at the King standing in midair. She pinched her small hand and wished to pull a meteorite down to kill the stinky King. She took a deep breath and hugged her chest and snorted coldly. Huh, besides, if you lose this time, in the future you are not allowed to be called a king, but should be called a smelly king. Huh. King was speechless. Then if you lose, are you not allowed to call it the trembling tornado, but the standing cabbage? Who do you call Kaiwan? Tornado glared at King, and immediately raised his little head. Humph. Let you go this time, and, for the time being, I didn't think of how to compare the superpowers. I will think of it later. Let me inform you again that you must be ready to fight at any time. King said helplessly. Huh? I really don't understand superpowers. Tornado clenched his small fist tightly, resisting the urge to beat King, turned around, and with a sizzle, the green light flashed across the sky and disappeared into everyone's eyes. Go so fast. King looked at the missing tornado and sighed slightly. Forgot to tell you that the weird you just guarded was just a ghost-level weirdo. The dragon-level weird has already died somehow. Ding. Congratulations to host for acquiring a 3-star monster card Allosaurus. King didn't have much emotion for the death of Allosaurus. He himself wanted to kill this unscrupulous guy before. Therefore, after Allosaurus died, he calmly stepped forward and touched it. After obtaining the card, he immediately turning around and leaving. He didn't even pause to deal with the enthusiastic people. It's not that he is cold, but there are so many citizens. Once he stops to deal with it, the citizens will definitely flock to him. At that time, I am afraid that he did not die at the hands of the weirdo but died in the stampede accident. That would be a tragedy. Moreover, fame is a cloud for him now. His fame has almost reached its peak, and there is basically no room for improvement. Besides, fame is of no use to him, but it is a big burden. Every time the association meets when it comes to an unsolvable weirdo, I always think of him. Please, he is just a nerd. How can he have the strength to deal with those powerful weirdos? So his huge reputation has become a burden in his life, both heavy and troublesome. Citizens stared blankly at King's unfeeling back view who didn't understand humanity and sophistication. This is the strong one. He is cold and arrogant, righteous and ruthless. In order to have a stronger power to resist the weird people, he stays away from the crowd and struggles alone. Cultivation has caused him to become stronger, but gradually loses his human touch, and suffers from a problem similar to communication disorder. King has paid a heavy price to protect us. In the mid-air of M City, King didn't know the messy thoughts of the citizens at all, looked for the direction home, and slowly drifted towards the house. Although there were some twists and turns during the invasion of the dinosaurs this time, the harvest was very rich. More than 20 monster cards were started. More importantly, there were 4 ghost-level monster cards. In the rare case of weirdos, the fighting power of ghost-level weirdos can almost ramp up the world. Now he adds the leopard-headed hedgehog weird card in front, and there are a total of 5 ghost-level weird cards, plus dozens of them. Zhong Huling level monster card, enough for him to squander it with confidence and boldness. He pulled down his attribute board. Before, in order to upgrade his skills, he deliberately upgraded to level 10, and later he increased to level 12 with the experience of an Ankylosaurus ghost-level monster, and gained a lot of attribute points. Name. Wang Feng English name, King level 12. Experience value. 27,887,000 stamina, 16 strength, 7. Speed. 16 defense, 38 lucky value, hidden attributes, can't be viewed, can't be changed. Attribute points. 0 skills. 1. Liquid Jet LV1, jet liquid out to attack the enemy. 2. Explosive Energy Bomb LV2, collect the surrounding energy and launch an energy bomb like a laser cannon. 3. Strengthen Transformation LV2, strengthen your own abilities and make your skills more powerful. 4. Flying LV2, as the messenger of the earth, you can fly freely in the earth. Skill points. 10 cards. 4-star monster card Desire Arbitrator, 3-star monster card Tyrannosaurus. Special card. No star card X1 Warm Reminder, 1. Every attribute of a normal person is 5. Full value is 100. 2. The power of the skill depends on the level and is not affected by the character itself, but the number of times the skill is released is affected by the power attribute. No star card. King browsed through his attribute board, only to find that he was given a star-free card when he was upgraded to level 10. When the system kept beeping, his focus was on small reputation, but he was a little ignored. A card without a star rating. Just mirror and copy the target to make the corresponding card? After reading the introduction of the unstarred cards, his eyes lit up, and a reflective head appeared in his mind. Saitama. This kind of card was born for Saitama. However, when I thought that I was picking up the leak behind Saitama before, I didn't react at all to copy Saitama with unstarred cards, which caused the opportunity to be missed in vain. Now I have to go to the door by myself, cheating. Oh, that's all. Go to City Z to talk to Saitama about the importance of hairstyles. A hidden research institute on the outskirts of Z City. A young man with dark green hair, wearing a suit and glasses, stared straight at the full-length photo of King on the computer screen. He tightly grasped the edge of the table with his hands, his eyes revealed fiery. Yes, with such a powerful strength, he must have broken through the limiter, and he is a new human who has evolved. I need his genes, I need him. I want to use him as an experimental sample. He is likely to become an opportunity for human evolution. On the 28th, we will send our messengers to find a way to obtain King's blood. I want to study his genes and make our species evolution experiments go further. Understood. In the shadows, there is a man who looks exactly like a young man, wearing an ancient white prison uniform with the number 28 on his chest, nodding. Somewhere in the world. Chuck, is there any better killer group in M City? Sir, a killer group is gaining momentum recently. In just over a month, it has been promoted from a rookie organization to the overlord of the killer community in M City, and it is well known in the killer community all over the world. Fafa Killer Group? Huh. Don't be as useless as the Want Killer Group last time. Bid 1 billion and let them kill King. Sir, why must he be obsessed with killing King? He is a righteous person and does not harm our interests. There is not much why. If you insist on saying a reason, then the reason is. The world is not allowed to exist such a powerful person. Understand? Understood. I will contact Fafa Killer Group now. The room fell into silence again. City G. A large research institute. A half-bald head, a circle of white fluffy hair on the back of his head and ears, a nose and big buck teeth, his face full of insidious and sinister looks. He stared at the King on the screen, thoughtfully. My newly developed G model, the robot, has been developed, and the first generation of G1 has been produced. However, the combat experience is very insufficient. You need to fight against the strong to collect combat information and improve the combat method of the G model robot. King is about the most powerful man in the world. If you want to collect battle data, he is definitely the best candidate for experimentation. He GG and laughed. Then King, please take care of my latest scientific and technological research result G1. M City. Special Sale Supermarket. Saitama was holding the supermarket sale leaflet, looking at the closed supermarket, holding his head in madness. It's closed. Obviously the sale time is not over yet, so it was actually closed. What? I ran so far away, nothing. I didn't buy it, my special sale cabbage, special sale hot pot base. Brother, the city of M was invaded by dinosaurs, and most of the citizens have already taken refuge in shelters. How could the supermarket be opened? City A. Heroes Association Headquarters. Report President. The unknown team killed another tiger-level weird. So far, they have killed 3 tiger-level weird in a row, but they have also lost a lot of manpower. Maria reported truthfully that in this dinosaur invasion, they were surprised to find that in addition to the professional heroes of the association, there was still a tenacious team hunting and killing the weirdos. After their inquiries, they learned that this team is called the Hunter Self-Defense Force, the captain is Axel, and all members are victims of the weird disaster. Their relatives died more or less in the hands of the weird, so they hated the weird. Into the bones, spontaneously form the self-defense forces, and hunt down weirdos regardless of life or death. Hunter Self-Defense Force. CIC was thoughtful. When the Heroes Association was first established, most human elites were eager to join the Heroes Association. However, as time passed, the association exposed more and more problems and scandals, leading to many outstanding recent the talent declined the invitation of the association, revealing an attitude of distrust of the association, which is worrying. Continue to pay attention to them, timely contact and win over them, and see if they can be integrated into the association's power system. Understand. Collison, who is in charge of the hero business, pushed his glasses and nodded solemnly. Maria reported again. By the way, Minister, most of the dinosaurs in M City have been wiped out, and a small number of dinosaurs have been arrested by the heroes and have been detained in the weird prison in M City. The dinosaur disaster has basically been resolved. In addition, as of now so far, 4 of the top 5 finished dinosaurs have been confirmed dead, including Ankylosaurus, but the Fengshun pterosaurs have been missing and their whereabouts are unknown. No sign? Ziki frowned deeply. Have you searched the sky and the suburbs of M City? We asked the government to use satellites to search, and no flying objects were found in the sky above M City. As for the outskirts, the minister, the suburbs of M City are too large to complete the search in a short time. Well, continue to search, and at the same time broadcast to the world announcing that with the efforts of our association, the dinosaur invasion has been perfectly resolved. As Ziki said, as for the treatment of this disaster, the benevolent will see the benevolent in the wise. Yes. Jace immediately asked Chicky and said, Minister, do you want to announce our plan to enslave the weirdo while solving the Dinosaur Man incident? Zeke was taken aback, and waved his hand boringly. Oh, no, King's strange pet and the Allosaurus who later surrendered all have riots and murders, which is annoying. Through these few things, you can see, ordinary people still can't accept the situation of living with weird people. There is a long way to go. Siki originally planned to whitewash the king and announce the plan of the association, but after the invasion of the dinosaurs, the reputation not only did not decline, but became a mess. Many young people regarded King as an idol, and even more so. There are countless girls who regard King as her husband. King no longer needs them to wash white. Moreover, the people generally cannot accept the appearance of weird people on the street. Besides, there is no breakthrough in the association's experiment of enslaving weird people. Recall the old thing. King completely ignored how the association dealt with the invasion of M City by the public relations dinosaurs, and even ignored the enthusiastic worship of the citizens. He has already been honored for 3 years, and he is accustomed to all kinds of people's praise and admiration. This time it's just a bit hotter than usual. It's not interesting. It's better to stay at home and play 2 games, and wait a few days after the dinosaur turmoil has subsided. And then go to Z City to find Saitama to copy a bald-level monster card as the trump card. When he thinks that he has the opportunity to experience the extraordinary power of Saitama, King is a little excited. He is even more vigorous to fight the King of Fighters. He gives his opponent a 5-minute combo. Even the opponent's character has already died and never stopped. However, before he went out to find Saitama, Tong Di called and invited him to study an experiment with elementary school students in the suburbs of Y City. He refused at first, saying that he had no time to play with Tong Di, and he asked Saitama to copy the unstarred card. However, under the plea of Tong Di, King hesitated for a while and felt that he could take a trip to City Y. Anyway, City Y and City Z are adjacent. After helping Tong Di to complete the experiment, he can transfer to City Z. Soon he promised to go to Y City tomorrow. Ding dong. When he just hung up Tong Di's phone, the doorbell rang suddenly. Well? He looked slightly puzzled. Who would look for him at this time? People in the world who know his address can count it with their fingers. Only the staff of the association can usually come to the door. The association issues benefits? Or did someone else go the wrong way? Through the cat's eyes, he saw a heroic man wearing a black long-sleeved t-shirt, a white vest, white gloves, and white knee-pad combat pants carrying a bag of apples. He was not sure where the people outside the door came from, so he simply asked, "People outside the door, who are you looking for?" He didn't want to expose his address, otherwise he would definitely be surrounded by the masses the next day. 3 outer layers. The heroic man said politely, "I'm looking for Mr. King. Is Mr. King at home?" "Well, I know that this is my house. Is it really a member of the association?" King was slightly puzzled and opened the door. Click. After seeing King, the heroic man smiled and handed over the apple respectfully and said, "Mr. King, I haven't seen you for a long time. After the last incident, I have been thinking of you, so I came to visit today, hoping to not disturb you. You take a rest." Huh. Who are you? King glanced at the heroic man suspiciously. Can't remember where he saw him. What happened last time? What happened last time? The heroic man laughed and said, "Mr. King may not recognize me. After all, I didn't show my face last time, so let me introduce myself formally. In Lower Axel, I am currently the captain of the Hunter Self-Defense Force." King raised his brows. Hunter Self-Defense Force? I don't know. Axel explained with a bleak expression. The Hunter Self-Defense Force is a newly established weird resistance army. During the more than 10 years of weird raging, many human beings have lost their homes, lost their loved ones, and become lonely in grief. The earth lives in the world, living day and night in a haunting manner. Whenever a stranger strikes, the pain of losing a loved one will always tear their hearts and make them painful and unbearable, but they have to endure the misery from hell. King watched Axel tell a lot of tragic stories in a mess. The more I listened, the more greasy I was. I know that you lived hard, lived sorrow, and lived miserably, but it's my shit. I am just an otaku who plays games as a whole, has no ability to ease the pain in your hearts. The members of the Hunter Self-Defense Force are all desolate people, and I am no exception. Once, I had a happy family, with a virtuous wife and good-natured and filial children. The family is full of laughter and laughter every day. However, since the appearance of the weird man, all the good things are dashed, and I am destined to be happy for the first half of my life, but lonely and sad for the second half of my life." Axel didn't see King's look getting darker and darker. He was immersed in his sad past, and talked about his past endlessly. Boom. The corner of King's mouth twitched and he closed the door directly, blocking the dumbfounded Axel from the door. If you want to enter the door, please summarize what you want to say within 30 words. I don't have the time to talk nonsense with you. I still play games. Playing games? Axel looked dumbfounded. Does King's daily life involve playing games? Shouldn't it be crazy cultivation? The difference in strength between me and King Kun is so big. Damn it, I'm really terrible. If this goes on, how can I capture King Kun's heart? I want to become stronger. After the Dinosaur Man incident, on the streets of City M, the sexy prisoner walked to City J alone. He was covered in injuries, traumas, and internal injuries. His back was desolate and lonely. No, my strength should have been stronger, but I messed with the guys I like all day long, and my body was gradually hollowed out and drained. My strength is not as good as before, even faster. I can't even fight a ghost-level weirdo, and I am almost ineligible to be an S-level hero. The sexy prisoner grabbed his chicken coo head painfully. If you continue to mess with the boys, I'm going to die. It's time to choose between strength and boys. He was lost in thought. Strength. Boys. Strength. Boys. It's too difficult to choose. Strength is my strongest charm weapon to attract boys. Boys are my unwavering belief in life. Both are equally important to me. Whether it is the decline in strength or the reduction in the number of messing with boys, it is a great pain for me, King Kun. What should I do? His face is full of entanglement and pain. Life, how can you play with me like this? You. What do you want to do? Don't come over, I'm going to call someone. When the sexy prisoner was distressed by the decline in strength, a shrill scream came from the alley ahead. Hey, girl, you scream, you scream. The people here have been scared away by weird people a long time ago, and I'm the only one left. You won't get anyone coming if you break your throat, but it will make me more excited. A slightly wretched voice followed. Well, someone is committing a crime. These two simple conversations fully demonstrated what happened in the alley. A wretched man was ready to violate the single lady. Help, help. In the alley, a pretty girl in a white princess dress panicked and cried out for help. Hey, beautiful lady, just follow me. In front of the beautiful girl, there is a handsome but wretched man with a swaying expression on his face. His eyes are staring straight at the beautiful woman's chest, shining brightly. Don't come over, woo. The beauty was so anxious that she sobbed softly. Her pretty face was full of tears, and her pitiful appearance was really pity for me. Hey, I can't take it anymore. The wretched man became even more excited, and suddenly jumped on the beauty. Puff. However, when the wretched man threw himself into the air, his body suddenly stopped, and his whole person hung in the air and swayed like clothes. Hey, handsome boys, molesting girls is a crime, and crime is not allowed. The sexy prisoner who arrived in time carried the wretched man like a chicken, showing a smile that was more sloppy than the wretched man. At the same time, crime must be punished. The wretched man stared at the sexy prisoner in a daze. Hello, your smiling face is more like a wretched man than I am. You are an S-rank hero. Sexy prisoner. The beautiful girl who was suddenly saved looked at the sexy prisoner in surprise, and exclaimed excitedly, Sexy prisoner, I am your loyal fan. Will you live with me? The beautiful girl suddenly heard what the sexy prisoner said. She suffocated her breath, lowered her head shyly, and whispered, I do. Are you willing to be my sexual partner? The beautiful girl's fair and slender hands nervously pinched her princess dress, and nodded shyly, I am willing. The sexy prisoner looked at the beautiful girl and frowned, Miss, I am not talking to you. To tell you the truth, I don't like girls. My true love is boys. Now, I want to continue interrogating criminals. Please don't interrupt anymore, okay? The beautiful girl looked at the sexy prisoner innocently, tears bursting out of her eyes, and her exquisite makeup was smeared. The innocent appearance of the rain and dew on the byland flowers made people want to hold her in her arms and love her. It's a pity that the sexy prisoner is a firm gay, and will never shake his faith because of a few tears of a girl. For boys, he is tender, and for girls, he is ruthless. This is his principle of being gay. The beautiful girl wiped the teardrops from the corner of her eyes with her sleeves and looked at the ruthless sexy prisoner. She bit her silver teeth and slowly lifted her skirt up with a shy face. The wretched man who hung in the air suddenly rounded his eyes, staring at the bottom of the beautiful girl, breathing quickly. After a while, his eyes were bright, his face was full of excitement, and his asterisk was pink. The sexy prisoner curled his lips. What's so beautiful under the girls, but the boys are wonderful. The beautiful girl lowered her head shyly, and said in a voice like a mosquito, Actually, I'm a boy. As soon as she finished her voice, she quickly lifted her skirt, revealing what looked like a big sweet potato wrapped in it. Pink panties. Puff. The wretched man spit out old blood. You are paralyzed. God. What kind of grudges or grievances? The pants are all taken off. You let me see this. The sexy prisoner was taken aback, and immediately looked at the beautiful girl with excitement. You are a boy. The beautiful girl bit her slender finger and clicked her little head shyly. She glanced at the sexy prisoner shyly, and whispered, Can I be your boyfriend? Of course you can, of course. The sexy prisoner nodded excitedly, feeling a sense of dizziness that was suddenly hit his head by happiness. If he was like iron stone to a beautiful girl just now, then he now has iron blood and tenderness towards her. There is a huge difference between sexy prisoners before and after. In fact, it is understandable. For example, a straight man with cancer, seeing a ladyboy who is all over the country, even if the ladyboy is beautiful, the straight man's cancer will not fluctuate in the slightest, but if someone suddenly tells him, the ladyboy, it's a rumor. In fact, that's a big beauty, and straight men with cancer will definitely change their attitude. Do you mind if I have a third party? The sexy prisoner glanced at the wretched man hanging in the air, and said softly. The wretched man was stunned by the sexy prisoners. Brother, you guys play your own, don't take me, I'm not gay. The beautiful boy glanced at the wretched man, and said timidly, Don't mind. Hello, sister? Big brother. Don't you mind? I do. Can you think about the feelings of the third party? It will kill me. The wretched man wants to cry without tears. I know I was wrong, please let it go. Great. Let's ride horses and gallop together tonight, live a chic and unrestrained life. The beautiful boy nodded slightly shyly and whispered, I listen to you. The sexy prisoner was overjoyed, and suddenly hugged the beautiful boy. He. Oh. Ah. There was an indescribable noise in the alley. More than an hour later, the sexy prisoner returned to the stinky prison with a refreshing expression while leading the wretched man with a broken face and the beautiful girl with a pretty face flushing. As the saying goes, after the incident, a spear stabs a chrysanthemum, a ladyboy and a scum, happy you and me, oh, cool. Sure enough, strength and everything are clouds, boys are true love. Axel looked at the closed door, was silent for a long time, and then solemnly said, Mr. King, we hope to ask you how to become stronger, so that we can have stronger power to hunt weird people. Become stronger? King's mouth twitched. I want to become stronger too. Click. He opened the door and said, Come in and sit down. He was a guest from afar. Although he had nothing to teach Axel, it was possible to entertain him for a cup of tea. Excuse me. In awe, Axel walked into King's house slightly cautiously, and was immediately attracted by the cracked floor on the second floor. Tea or a drink? King asked Axel casually, but he didn't get a response. He turned around in doubt and saw Axel staring at the cracked hole in the floor of his second floor in a daze, recalling his original embarrassment. Amused, Don't look at it, I accidentally broke it some time ago. It broke by accident. Axel repeated his words in a low voice, and took a deep look at King. Yeah, such a powerful man as King can move mountains and fill the sea with every move. If you don't pay attention on weekdays, the slightly leaked powerful power will be easy. Destroying furniture houses is really scary. Sit as you like. Oh, there is Coke in the refrigerator, tea in the cupboard, hot water in the water dispenser, and you can take whatever you want to drink. After a brief introduction, King sat down again and picked up his game console controller. By the way, are you playing games? Playing games? Axel froze for a moment, then said solemnly, Mr. King, I am here on behalf of the Hunter Self-Defense Force to ask you to teach us how to practice. Stop. I don't have anything to teach you. If you want to become stronger, just work hard. Ask me. I'm just an otaku who loves to play games. How can I teach you how to become stronger? King waved his hand to interrupt Axel's words and glanced at him sideways. If you want to learn to play games, I can teach you. Playing games? Axel frowned and thought. This is the third time that King has said about playing games. A strong like King, his words will definitely not aimlessly. He emphasized playing games 3 times in a row. Well, did King test me by playing games? He stared at King with piercing eyes and smiled in a low voice. Oh, in that case, then Mr. King, I would like to learn to play games with you. Oh, take your gamepad. King glanced at the serious Axel in surprise. Playing a game for pastime, is it necessary to show such a solemn attitude? Actually, playing games is very simple. It's nothing more than up, down, left and right baba. Among them, up, down, left, and right are the most basic character movement operations. B is a kicker. Although Axel has never played Street King of Fighters, he has heard that the King of Fighters has enlarged moves, and he casually asked, I heard that the King of Fighters has big moves. A big move? King said lightly. Don't worry, you are the first to get started. The most important thing is to be proficient in basic character movements. As long as you memorize the combination of various basic movements, release the big move naturally. After all, the character's big moves are just derived from basic actions one by one. King is really teaching me to play games. Axel looked at the king, who was seriously explaining the game operation, and his heart was full of confusion. I came to learn how to become stronger, not to learn to play games. Well, wait a minute. How can someone like King be free? Tell me about game skills so patiently. Think about it in another way. If I am a king and I am unwilling to teach others how to become stronger, I will definitely shut them out instead of wasting precious practice time talking about a bunch of useless game skills. No, is there a deeper meaning in King's words? It's just that I didn't realize it. So what does King mean? He fell into contemplation, playing games, proficient in basic operations, and unleashing big moves as a matter of course. I understand. He moved in his heart. King's real intention was not to teach me how to play games at all, but to teach me the tricks of practice through teaching game skills. The so-called playing games is practice, and game skills are practice tricks. King said that he wants to play good games. First of all, you must be proficient in basic operations, which means to tell me that if you want to become stronger, the first condition is to exercise well and consolidate the foundation. This is the prerequisite for becoming stronger. Later, King said that as long as the foundation is firmly laid, the foundation becomes stronger as a matter of course. No, King's words should have a deeper meaning. There is no shortcut to cultivation, only persistence. Don't delusion to climb to the sky in one step, down to earth is the right way. Axel's face was solemn, savoring King's words carefully. King looked at Axel in a daze, speechless. Oh, don't think about it. It seems that you are not suitable for playing games. It can take a long time to learn the basic operation of the game. If you teach you the big trick to release the key sequence, you want to think about it for a day? King's sigh awakened Axel, who was thinking about the philosophy of life. He looked at the disappointed King, and his heart was shocked. Is King so disappointed in me? So that even the said good teaching was cancelled. What did I do wrong? By the way, I was in a daze. Yes, when King was teaching, I was in a daze. King must use this to warn me that I can't be separated from my cultivation, and I must concentrate and persevere in order to reach the other side of the strong. He took a deep breath and respectfully bowed to King. Mr. King, I understand. Please forgive me for being rude and continue to teach me the skills of playing games. King looked at Axel in amazement. For the first time in his life, he was a little touched. It is rare that there are people in this world who want to learn game skills so sincerely. Looking at Axel's sincere attitude, he reluctantly picked up the handle and taught. Playing games, skill is secondary. The key is to have eyesight in hand, pay attention to the opponent's movements at all times, and follow the opponent's movements quickly. To respond, you must either fight back, evade, or defend, and don't mess around. Axel is thoughtful, judging the situation. Acting by chance. King is right. The overall strength of their hunter self-defense forces is generally not strong. They should not be chaotic when dealing with strangers. They should use correct methods to hunt strangers in an orderly and calm manner. Many people say that the characters of the King of Fighters are strong and weak. This is ridiculous. In fact, there is no absolutely weak character. Whether the player can win depends on whether the player holding the handle can play. If the player operates it properly, even if it is considered to be weak, characters can also torture and kill those who seem to be strong. Axel's pupils shrank. Command. Did King tell me that as the captain of the Hunter Self-Defense Force and the battle commander carry a heavy responsibility? Only if my command ability is strong, can I lead my teammates to victory. Yes, in a battle, the role of a commander is extremely important. If the command is done properly, the battle can get twice the result with half the effort. Otherwise it will be twice the result with half the effort. In this case, I still have a lot to learn. He took a sigh of relief with a solemn expression and exhaled, so I realized it again. Boom. Just as King carefully told Axel some game skills, the walls of his house burst to the ground, and an unidentified creature that was round like a tire and looked like an eggshell broke in. Rumble. The unidentified creature's rolling pace never stopped, and it rushed toward the King, and at the same time a dull voice floated from it. King, remember my name. I am a new type of human evolved from snails. My name is Snailbot. Even though I am a snail, I think I am slow. In fact, I used to give my dad tofu. Over the course of a few years, I developed this racing technique. How many cars are you driving? With a black line on King's forehead, he looked at the snail man who was running, and did not hesitate to use a 2-star freak card, Glue Freak, she had previously harvested in the Freak Prison Riot. Ding. Congratulations for speed gaining 1263 experience points. Ding. Host has succeeded in comprehending the card character skills. Ding. Congratulations to host for comprehending the strong adhesive. King ignored the new skills he had learned, and sprayed some milky white liquid directly at the snail man who was rolling over. The liquid was very viscous, such as hair gel. Chi. King sprayed a relatively large amount. After a while, the snail man's volute was covered with milky white liquid super glue. The solidification time of these glues was very short. After a short time, the snail man's rolling body actually slowed down. Due to the strong glue, every short distance it rolls, it is always extremely difficult. Ah, you shameless guy, you shot some weird liquid on me. Ah, glue. My volute is about to roll. The strong glue sticks to the floor firmly, making the snail man almost unable to roll. After the glue is completely dried, the snail man is helplessly settled in place, and the 1-meter-high volute stands on the king's house like a sculpture. In the living room.
This is glue. Axel watched the milky white liquid sprayed by King firmly stuck to the snail man. His eyes flickered. Superpowers. This is King's superpower. He actually sprayed from the milky white glue controls the weirdo. The superpower is really weird.
Ah, bastard. Bastard, let go of me. I am a new type of human who has evolved perfectly. You bastard. Do you know that I am the hope for the future of mankind? The snail man kept struggling, but the glue was too viscous, and he couldn't get rid of it no matter how hard he struggled. It was a waste of effort. A new type of human. So, if later archaeologists dug up you and me at the same time, they might think that I am your ancestor. King's fingers knocked on the hard volute of the snail man, making a sonorous muffled sound. The hardness of the volute was probably comparable to steel. Asshole, how dare you insult me? You are dead, you are absolutely dead. The snail man yelled loudly. Axel couldn't help but said, Mr. King, why don't you just punch it to death? He didn't have any sympathy for the weirdo.
Well, King glanced at Axel and didn't speak. He just consumed a 2-star monster card and didn't have the power to break the volute with a punch. If he was using a Tyrannosaurus card, he could try to blast the snail man with one punch. However, since it can be solved with 2-star cards, it is natural not to waste precious 3-star monster cards.
King, you are dead. You are not only offended by me, but also by the thousands of brothers behind me. If you dare to touch my hair, they will definitely avenge me. The snail man shrank his body in the volute like a tortoise with his head shrunk. He just yelled inside, but he couldn't come out. King looked at the snail man in a strange way. What was the reason to let it know that I was the strongest man on the surface, King, and still dared to come and kill me, and still yelled arrogantly after being arrested? It seems that it has to be interrogated to clarify its support in case of accidents. He turned around to look for some special interrogation tools. However, the moment he turned around, a whistling sound of sharp blades pierced through the air flashed in his ears. Anyone else? King's heart squeezed. Panicked, he took a few steps back, and looked around vigilantly. His heart thumped, and the sudden heartbeat echoed in the narrow room. Phew, he sighed with lingering fear, and he almost was recruited just now. With his current defense, if he is stabbed by a sharp blade, he is absolutely dead. Damn, this snail man used to be so arrogant to attract his attention, for the convenience of others. The assassin made an assassination.
Huh, are there any other enemies? Axel saw that the king reacted like this, and even the Imperial engine was activated, indicating that the king had entered a fighting state. It seems that King must have found other enemies. However, he glanced around and found nothing. Silhouette, can the enemy become invisible?
The snail man harassed King endlessly. Ha, King. I said you were dead, you are absolutely dead.
King ignored the noisy snail man and glanced around the room. The assassin could approach him unknowingly, either extremely fast or invisible. Judging from his eyes, the opponent is obviously not a fast person, otherwise he was just now. When retreating, the opponent can win the pursuit, but the opponent does not, so the opponent should be invisible.
Invisible. He frowned slightly, and cursed in his heart. What kind of ghost ability? There are really invisible people in the world. Fortunately, judging from the level of assassination just now, the strength of the invisible man should not be strong, just relying on the strange ability of stealth to assassinate the enemy. Although I can't see you, you are already under my control.
King's mouth twitched slightly, and once again used the glue monster's powerful adhesive, spraying a large amount of milky white liquid from his XXX position, using himself as a dot, gradually expanding outward, trying to hit the invisible with glue people, hit the opponent out of the original shape.
Is it really an invisible person? Axel kicked back to prevent being shot by King's milky white liquid, and at the same time verified his guess from King's move. After a while, the room was filled with various white liquids and dried quickly in the air. While King was struggling to spray glue, there was a slight tearing sound. King's eyes lit up, staring at the residual glue somewhere, and found you. The corner of his mouth was slightly hooked, and a large amount of glue was sprayed to the residual glue, and a burst of liquid spray disappeared, and the glue covered a figure in front of him. ZZ. The invisible man tried to escape, but unfortunately, his body was covered with glue, and the soles of his feet quickly stuck to the floor and couldn't break free, ending up like the snail man. Burst energy bomb. King was not interested in communicating too much with a guy who was hiding his head and showing his face. Without seeing the other person's body, the ghost knew whether the other person had hidden any secret weapons. As a life-saving person, he decided to directly kill the other person. The invisible man shouted, "Hey, wait a minute, I evolved from a chameleon." Boom. An explosion sounded, and in an instant, the red with green and white unidentified liquid splashed in all directions. Ding. There are convertible cards nearby. Please host to convert. King raised his brows and stepped forward to touch it in the blood. Ding. Congratulations to host for obtaining a 2-star monster card, Chameleon Man. It turns out to be a chameleon, but it changes color with the environment to hide its body, not the transparent person I thought. King was slightly disappointed. Killed.
Axel's pupils shrank, looking at the pile of blood scum, and he was lost in thought. He was not surprised that King killed the weird person. What was unexpected was the way King killed the weird person, using superpowers glue to gradually eat away at each other. The range of movement caused the weirdo to show its feet and was eventually killed. This kind of grind killing method is normal on others, but it is very strange on King.
Who is King? Known as the strongest man on the surface, killing monsters is usually solved with one punch. When have you used such ink tactics? Could it be that King's move contains deep meaning? The snail man seemed to realize that the chameleon man had an accident, and hurriedly shouted, "Chameleon, chameleon." King curled his lips. "Don't shout, it's dead." The snail man's yelling stopped abruptly, as if someone had caught his neck.
After it was silent for a while, it shouted louder, "King, you have been targeted by our powerful House of Evolution. Although you have defeated the two of us, we are not ranked among the new humans in the House of Evolution. Our House of Evolution is strong like a cloud. Even if it is as strong as you, he will die in our hands."
The snail man's tone was full of confidence. The House of Evolution? King has a weird face, and the organization behind the snail man is actually an evolutionary home that has appeared in anime. Speaking of the House of Evolution, it is also a more eye-catching villain in One Punch Man. The founder of the House of Evolution in Z City is Kenos. This is a crazy and genius scientist. He grew up because of his super high wisdom, dislikes others, thinks that others are all idiots and incompetents, and feels extremely painful for living in a world surrounded by idiots, and then came up with the idea of
promoting the evolution of mankind with his own power. Ishin rushes to scientific research, painstakingly lonely he has studied the related projects of human evolution. Over the past few decades, he has researched many cutting-edge biological, scientific and technological achievements, and even used artificial technology to help the 70-year-old regain his old age and rejuvenate. When he became young, he used cloning technology to replicate many a clone of yourself, just in case. In the anime, Kenos' human evolution experiment has many experimental products, such as the Ashura unicorn who has cultivated the dragon-level weirdo disaster, the mosquito girl who has the ghost-level weirdo disaster, and other powerful weirdos.
Kenos worked hard to study biotechnology, hoping that one day he could break the ultimate limiter of mankind and use his own power to leverage the opportunity of human evolution.
Unfortunately, he encountered a fateful enemy, Saitama. After witnessing Saitama's powerful power, he hoped to use Saitama as a sample to study, and immediately dispatched his own elite troops to capture Saitama. However, he was not captured as Saitama. Saitama wiped out the elite troops he planned to use to counterattack mankind in one fell swoop. Afterwards, frustrated, he gave up his dream, opened a takoyaki shop in the busy city, and lived honestly. King touched his chin and thought to himself. After seeing the power of Saitama, Kenos, a bioscience researcher, couldn't wait to grab Saitama as an experimental sample. Then he sent someone to assassinate himself. This time, I am afraid he was spying on me. The body of the strongest man on the surface intends to invite me back to the House of Evolution as an experimental sample.
Hey, I actually ended up with Saitama. What a grievance. Oh, it's been targeted by the House of Evolution. Trouble.
He frowned slightly with a headache. The strength of the House of Evolution is not weak. The one-horned fairy of Ashura, who has a dragon-level disaster, and several monsters of ghost-level disasters, once Kenos is determined to tie himself back to the evolution. Doing experiments at home, then I'm afraid I can't resist it.
It seems that the trip to City Z is imminent. and I have to find a way to fool Saitama to destroy the House of Evolution and eliminate the huge hidden dangers that threaten my life.
After he smoothed things out, he thought of Dr. Hammond, who brought the dinosaur man to the world. Hammond and Kenos are also mad scientists with firm dreams, and they also have great breakthroughs in biotechnology. The cultivation of powerful weirdos seriously threatens world peace. Well, speaking of mad scientists, in the anime, there is also a particularly brilliant scientist Fokker. This guy did not make a bunch of weird people like Hammond and Kenos, but developed a kind of ultimate steroid preparations were given to his brother Margali. Margali upgraded to become a giant like a titan, and destroyed City D as soon as he shot it. The disaster was terrifying. Almost forgot the giant brother. Well, remind Sichi to check the research institute on the outskirts of D City to see if Fokker can be found, try to prevent a catastrophe, and let him investigate by the way. The location of the House of Evolution. King thought about it, and immediately took out his cell phone and called the association headquarters. Axel, who looked down next to him without hesitation, told Sichi his request directly, and briefly talked about it. He was rejecting Sichi's proposed. After the invitation, I hung up the phone.
King, don't be arrogant when you think that you are the strongest man on the surface. Our House of Evolution is not an easy place to mess with. If you offend us, we will kill you sooner or later.
The snail man yelled to himself. King clicked slightly. The snail man was really a stupefaction. The situation is that it has fallen into his hands and has become the meat on the cutting board. Let him slaughter it. However, the snail man has no sense of consciousness and is still arrogantly clamoring. I don't know how to write the word, dead.
Seeing that the snail man was so arrogant, Axel couldn't help but ask King. Mr. King, please allow me to kill this weird person. You? King glanced at Axel, and said noncommittal, please. Anyway, no matter who killed the weirdo, it wouldn't prevent him from drawing the card.
Thank you King for the first generation. Axel lifted up his spirits. Taking advantage of the glue on the floor that had dried up and lost its viscosity, he quickly approached the snail man, walked around the volute about 1 meter high, and didn't know where to start for a while.
The volute is as hard as steel. Where can he break it with bare hands? He frowned and glanced around at King's home, hoping to find a usable tool. Haha, boy, with a big tone, you are a weak human being with me to kill my snail master. Humph, your bread fist can break my copper and iron walls and count me as a loser. When the snail man heard Axel's bold words to kill himself, he laughed loudly. King looked at Axel's tangled face and shook his head speechlessly. He took out a water pipe from his home, connected one end to the boiling faucet of the drinking fountain, and inserted the other end into the entrance of the volute, and then immediately turned on the boiling faucet of the drinking fountain. Zizz. The boiling water poured down the water pipe into the volute under Axel's dull eyes. Ah, ding, there are convertible monster cards nearby, please go to the host to convert. Ding. Congratulations to host for getting a 2-star monster card Snailman.
King calmly drew out the weird card. The 2-star weird card is already a horrible thing in his card shelf. There is no more than one card, and a lot less, not to mention the snail man himself did not show it. Special ability. Although the volute is hard, it is not very useful, but the invisibility of the chameleon is a bit interesting. He clicked on the card storage shelf and opened the Chameleon Man's weird card. Chameleon Man. Background. Upgraded people evolved from the combination of chameleon genes and human genes. Skills. Stealth, passive, body color changes with the color of the environment, and always maintains the same skin color as the environment. After reading the introduction of the Chameleon Man, King's eyes lit up, and a wretched thought came up in his mind. Sneak attack the weird. I have to say that invisibility is one of the superpowers that human beings most desire. With invisibility, you can do many things that you don't dare to do, such as peeping. King was thinking over there, and Axel was thinking about it too. His face was solemn, and he stared at the dead snail man and chameleon man. It was abnormal, too abnormal. King killing was not a punch, but accidentally used tactics. This ink killing method is definitely not King's style. It's abnormal, it's too abnormal. If King does this, there must be a deeper meaning in it. What is it? He contemplated hard. When the weirdo came, he first used glue to control the snail man, and then used the glue to force the chameleon man to expose his horse's feet and bind it, step by step to push the enemy to the edge of death. This monster killing tactic is placed on hockeys. The contrast on the king is too great. If it is placed on a weak hero, it is normal. Wait a minute, weak. Tactics. He has bright eyes, tactics, yes, tactics. To King, the snail man and the chameleon are exactly like ants, but King patiently dealt with the two weird people. Why? He didn't understand at first, but now he realized that King didn't put the snail man and the chameleon man in his eyes from beginning to end. Got to kneel.
That's right. As long as the tactics are used properly, even if the strength of the self-defense forces is weak, it is not a dream to kill ghost-level monsters, or even dragon-level monsters, as long as they work hard and supplement them with correct tactics. Hey, don't be in a daze. King woke up the pensive Axel and issued a deportation order. You have also seen this. I have a lot of things to deal with in this situation. I don't have time to entertain you. Go back. I can't play games anymore. I have 2 big holes in my wall, and my house is messy. In this case, how can I still play games safely? He looked at the dilapidated home and wondered whether he should move. The floor on the 2nd floor was broken, but that's not a problem. At most, he want to go up to the 2nd floor. But now it's even the walls that shelter the wind and rain. 2 big holes were broken, and this house could no longer live. Let's move. Move to Z City to be a neighbor with Saitama?
See a visitor out. Axel frowned and asked for advice on how to become stronger. However, King never gave any practical guidance. However, he knew that King had just taught him a lot of things, as to how much he could comprehend. It depends on your own comprehension.
Thank you, Mr. King, for his teaching. Although King never admitted that he was teaching himself from beginning to end, he remembered this kindness in his heart, so he solemnly bowed to King. King looked at Axel, who gave such a big gift. His face was stunned. Didn't he just teach you to play a game? Isn't it a terrific technology, so serious? Look at this appearance to respect me as a teacher.
He coughed lightly and said, ahem, one little thing, don't take it to heart. It seems that he just taught him the basic game operations that almost everyone understands, but he actually treats me as a teacher. Alas. This kid is too honest, I want to bully him. For Mr. King, this may be a small thing, but for me, it is a big thing. Mr. King's kindness to the Hunter Self-Defense Force will be unforgettable for us. It may be difficult to repay Mr. King's kindness in this life. Now, in the next life our Hunter Self-Defense Force is willing to be a cow and a horse for Mr. King. Axel looked serious. Quote. King twitched at the corner of his mouth and glanced at Axel solemnly. Brother, are you serious? My goodness, just teach you to play a game, the kindness is great. Will you be a cow and a horse in your next life to repay your kindness? He wanted to reach out and touch Axel's forehead to see if he had a fever. It is estimated that he has burnt his brain to speak such inexplicable words. Well, this kind of kindness is well deserved, so don't take advantage of this fool. King thought silently, sending Axel away. I have no kindness to you, and I don't need you to repay. You go back quickly, don't hinder me from doing things. Suddenly, the weird siren in the center of M went off. Emergency notice, emergency notice. Unidentified strange birds appeared in the sky above M City. The disaster level is ghost level. Please try not to go out and hide in the building. Broadcast again. Urgent notice, urgent notice. An unknown strange bird appeared above M City. The disaster level is ghost level. Please try not to go out and hide in the building. Huh? Another weirdo? Or a ghost level weirdo? King was stunned. Recently, weird people in M City have appeared a bit frequently, and weird people with disaster level of ghost level and above appeared one after another, which caused panic and restlessness in M City. Ghost level disaster weirdo. Axel was also taken aback, turning his head to look at the indifferent King, frowning. Mr. King, don't you want to take a look? It can't be said that you can get the credit for killing the ghost level weirdo. Quote. Nothing to look good. King couldn't deny Axel's words. If you want to get the credit for killing the ghost level weirdo, you don't have to go to the weirdo to perform justice yourself. This kind of credit has always been lost from the sky. If you come down to yourself, where do you need to work hard to fight the weird people? Tweet. As soon as King's voice fell, a sharp bird song suddenly sounded in the sky, and immediately a huge figure rushed toward King's home. Boom. The strange bird flew past, and King's house was in ruins in an instant. Now King doesn't need to be entangled. As expected, he still needs to move. King, you killed many of my brothers and sisters. My Feng-Shun pterosaur will never spare you. Destroying your home this time is just a small lesson. Sooner or later, I will take your life. It turns out that the strange bird is not someone else, but the missing Feng-Shun pterosaur. However, the Feng-Shun pterosaur was screaming fiercely, but after launching an assault and destroying the king's house, there was no lingering. His wings fluttered, like a ruined soldier fleeing, and quickly disappeared into the sky. This kid. I'm afraid that King will react and kill him and stew the chicken soup. A research institute on the outskirts of Z City. Doctor,
The Snail Man and the Chameleon Man have been confirmed dead, and our target king is unscathed. The Keno's clone with number 28 on its chest made a blank report about the Snail Man and the Chameleon. As expected, Keno's was slightly disappointed. Although he should have known that the Snail Man and the Chameleon were unlikely to cause harm to King, he still hoped that they could rely on the invisibility of the Chameleon to obtain King's blood as his genetic research sample. It's a pity that King is king. Even if the Chameleon Man's abilities are weird, he still can't hurt King. I have to get King's genes, call our partner and ask him to get King's blood samples.
Understood. Somewhere in the world.
As King's blood sample. Hey, we are going to kill King anyway. I helped take the blood sample by the way.
Sir, I understand. I immediately notify the Fafa killer group. Well, I hope this hair killer group will not let down our trust. The next day. City A. The battle room of the Heroes Association headquarters. Jace held a document in his hand and reported in a serious manner. Report Minister, Lord Shibabawa sent us a prophetic fax. What? Lord Shibabawa's prophecy? Ziki was shocked and hurriedly said, tell me the content of the prediction. Shibabawa is a great prophet who has accurately predicted various upcoming disasters, such as earthquakes and weird invasions. He is a special hero hired by the Heroes Association. Since Shibabawa's predictions have never been missed, and each time the predictions are all disasters, it can be said that once Shibabawa's predictions come out, there must be no good. However, Shibabawa's predictions can allow the association to understand the upcoming disasters. Prepare to resist in advance.
Therefore, Siki both hated and valued Shibabawa's prediction. Jace nodded, handed the document to Sik, and said solemnly, Master Shibabawa's prophecy says that within this month, City B and City D will be destroyed by strangers. What? Ziki's eyes widened. Will cities B and D be destroyed by strangers? Isn't the weird person who can destroy the two cities a dragon-level disaster weird person?
He was very scared to think about it. City L and City M had just experienced the ravages of dragon-class monsters. Fortunately, Hammond's goal was king. He was just a casual destruction of City L and City M while on the road. The city caused too much damage, but the prediction given by Shibabawa this time turned out to be the destruction of City B and City D. According to the association's definition of disaster levels, this time the weird is a dragon-level weird. However, what made him helpless was that Shibabawa's prediction did not give the exact time of the disaster. That is to say, within a month, the time of the disaster may be today or tomorrow. In short, from now on, the weird disaster that caused the destruction of City B and City D may happen at any time.
Siki was tensed, knowing that time was pressing, and decisively ordered, Jace, immediately notify the government to evacuate the citizens of City B and City D.
Clear. Jace knows the seriousness of the matter. This kind of disaster that destroys the two cities at every turn is too horrible and must be prepared in advance, otherwise, when the disaster strikes, he will be in a hurry.
Sik asked Collison again. Collison, check out the heroes that are active in City B and City D, and let them find the source of the weirdo. I told him that there are hidden dangers in the suburbs of D and Z. Could the danger mentioned by King have something to do with this catastrophe? He thought about it for a moment, and said, focus on finding the outskirts of City D, and let people investigate the situation in the outskirts of City Z by the way. Coulson nodded and turned to contact the heroes of City B and City D. After Ziki finished his instructions, he rubbed his temples worriedly and whispered to himself. I hope to minimize the loss, otherwise the people should denounce the association again. Thinking of cities B and D being destroyed by weird people, the people complained like snowflakes. He suddenly had a headache. This job was really difficult. Welcome to the beautiful City Y. In the Y City train station, King came by appointment. He was wearing a black cap, wearing his regular white sweater, carrying a black backpack, and putting his hands in kabuto, waiting for Tong D to pick him up. I don't know if Sik takes my words as the same thing. There are huge threats hidden in the suburbs of D and Z. King thought boredly about the situation yesterday, when the Fengshun pterosaur completely destroyed his house, and then fled and disappeared. However, the appearance of the House of Evolution and the Wind God pterosaur reminded him that there is not only a mad scientist in this world, Hammond Indiana his memory, there is a genius madman hidden in the suburbs of City D and City Z. There the scientific research results will cause serious harm to their respective cities in the near future. Therefore, he has a sense of responsibility that a hero by luck is also a hero to inform Ziki that there are dangers hidden in the suburbs of City D and City Z, and ask Ziki to send heroes to investigate. However, he didn't know if Ziki took his words to heart. After all, he couldn't explain why he knew there was danger in the suburbs of D and Z. Hello. Is it Mr. King? When he was in a daze, a specially low-voiced word came into his ears. He raised his head questioningly. He saw a middle-aged man with a round face, a fat body, wearing a shit yellow windbreaker and a shit yellow felt hat. When I approached myself, his eyes were searching. King asked suspiciously, "You are?" The blessed middle-aged man stretched out his hand and smiled and said, "Mr. King, I am Y City Sheriff Maigret. I am the Sheriff Maigret of City Y, and I was commissioned by Emperor Tong to pick you up to the Primary Student Institute." Sheriff? Maigret? King looked at Maigret in astonishment. How could Tong Di have such a deep relationship with the police? You know, since the establishment of the association and the police have looked at each other and disliked each other. The association hated the police for getting in the way, and the police resented the association for being nosy and stealing their jobs. Therefore, the two sides got into trouble with each other, and eventually the relationship became stiff. I didn't expect that Tong Di would actually commit a crime against the wind. He was a hero of the association, but he was in contact with the police. If Ziki knew about it, he would have a wonderful look. Maigret smiled and said, "Mr. King is weird about my relationship with Tong Di?" "A little bit." King shook his head. "However, I don't care about things that matter to me. Generally, I just ask how your relationship has nothing to do with me. I was only invited to come and help Tong Di complete the experiment and I will leave. Lead the way." "Mr. King speaks quickly, please." Maigret led King into an ordinary car and immediately started the engine. "Mr. King, Emperor Tong is now attending a banquet for an important person and can't spare time to pick you up. He asked me to apologize to you on his behalf." In the car, Maigret explained why he came to greet him, not the reason why Tong Di came in person. "It doesn't matter, as long as you can get me to the destination, it's the same for anyone." King didn't care, he just came to assist Tong Di to conduct an experimental study, and then withdrew after finishing it. He even bought the train ticket to Z City in the afternoon. "Thank you Mr. King for your understanding." After Maigret thanked him, he shut up. There was a gap between the police and the hero after all. King, a sociable otaku, was also silent, quietly looking at the scenery passing by the window. For a while, the car was silent, until a jingle of the telephone rang, which broke the embarrassing atmosphere. "Hey, Tong Di. I have received Mr. King, and I am going to the Primary Student Institute." "What? Mr. Robert was killed?" "Okay, I see, I will rush over." After Maigret hung up, he turned the front of the car dignifiedly. "Mr. King, a tricky thing has happened to Tong Di, and we need to rush over to help solve it as soon as possible." Casual. Anyway, Tong Di is not in the Research Institute. Even if he goes to the Research Institute, it doesn't make any sense. It's not like going to Tong Di to solve the trouble and then returning to the Research Institute to complete the experiment together. From what Maigret said just now, it can be seen that Tong Di probably suffered a murder, and Maigret, the sheriff, needs to assist in the investigation. The hero and the police cooperate with the investigation? It's fun. Maigret's speed has almost increased to its peak, racing on the road like a car, even running several red lights in a row, almost causing a car accident. King looked at Maigret with a dignified face in surprise. Robert is a very important person. It can make a policeman who would rather break the law and rush to the scene of the crime as soon as possible. It is conceivable that it is not easy to be killed. Maigret glanced at the mirror of King in the rearview mirror, and slowly said, "Robert is the top richest man in City Y, the world's toy tycoon, and the largest investor in Tong Di's Primary Student Research Institute." It turned out to be the gold master behind Tong Di. King thoughtfully, among the many S-rank heroes, Tong Di is very special. His age is too young. Unlike the pseudo-lowly like the tornado, Tong Di is a real little boy, and his personal strength may be S. One of the weakest heroes of the S-class, but ranks higher than most S-class heroes, making it into the top 5. Tong Di's position in the association is a think tank, relying on intelligence rather than science and technology. Although he is also engaged in scientific and technological research, but when the association has scientific and technological needs, he usually only finds metal knights. There is basically nothing to do with Tong Di, naturally. The association's scientific research funding support to Tong Di is less. However, scientific research is very expensive, and the money of the association is not enough for Tong Di to spend. Under this circumstance, the scientific and technological achievements invented and created by the Emperor Tong are very stingy, like a child's toy, without the brilliance of the Metal Knight's easy experimental rocket launcher. Toy? There was a move in his heart. It seemed that the toy tycoon Robert was interested in Tong Di's scientific research and development ability, and Tong Di was interested in Robert's financial resources. However, now that Robert is dead, Tong Di is very depressed. He chuckled inwardly. Under Maigret's ultra-fast speed, within 10 minutes, they immediately arrived at the place where Robert had a banquet. This is a toy castle built with a steel armor warrior as a template, and the shape is half a steel armor warrior. Show your own uniqueness. Beep beep beep. Several police cars were parked at the entrance of Robert's mansion, and it was obvious that other police had arrived earlier. Sergeant Merrick. When Merrick appeared, the police officer guarding the door immediately stepped forward to salute. Merrick frowned and said, "What's the situation? Robert is a celebrity in City Y. Once the murder is spread, it will cause an uproar in the society, and the police department will also bear tremendous pressure. Report to Sheriff Merrick that the scene has been sealed off and all the guests attending the banquet are under control. We are taking confessions one by one, and at the same time, we are taking photos of the murder scene to collect evidence." The police officer said a lot of basic work content. After listening to Merrick, he nodded slightly. "Very well, I'll go in and take a look." After speaking, he took King into Robert's house. At this moment, the dozens of guests who participated in Robert's private banquet in Robert's house, the servants gathered in the living room, and some police officers interrogated them about the murder. After King followed Merrick into the living room, he glanced at the restless suspects, with his gaze hidden under the peaked cap, and immediately found sitting on the sofa with a lollipop in his mouth and a small schoolbag on his back, as if Tongdi, who was doing homework, but he clearly saw Tongdi's little ears stand up to listen to the confession of the suspects, and the pen in his hand has not fallen for a long time. It is false to want to come to do homework, but to listen to the confession of others. Real. Sergeant Merrick. As soon as Merrick arrived, he became the person in charge of the murder, and all the police officers came to him to inquire about the next course of action. King was not interested in listening to the trivial matters of the police, turned around and prepared to find a quiet place to stay, and waited until the matter was resolved before leaving with Tong Di. King, long time no see. Tong Di found King and found the homework in his hand. He walked to King and licked the lollipop in his hand. His small eyes were shining and he looked at King with piercing eyes. "Well, I haven't seen each other for a while." King nodded calmly. Tong Di leaned over to King and sat down and whispered, "King, Mr. Robert used to help me a lot, and now he is tragically dying. I can't just sit idly by. The person who killed him must be hidden in the crowd. Who do you say is the murderer?" King said lightly, "I don't know." He leaned back, lazily, without any thought of participating in solving the case. Tong Di glanced at King and said in a low voice, "Mr. Robert is not a simple rich man. He is also one of the directors of the association. The death of Mr. Robert is likely to have a certain impact on the funds of the association. King, you as an S-rank hero of the association, don't you want to share some difficulties for the association? Or does Uncle King know nothing about the reasoning of the case?" "Well, Uncle King, in terms of strength, I must have lost to you, but as an S-rank hero, I also have my own strengths. In terms of intelligence, I am outstanding among many S-rank heroes, especially in case reasoning. Looking at the whole world, I am also a top reasoning expert." King looked sideways at the smiling Tong Di and shook his head, not interested. "Oh, that's okay. I'm going to find out the situation first. King, you will wait for us a while, and when I solve the case, I will go back to the research institute." Tong Di was a little disappointed, and would like to compare his case reasoning ability with Uncle King. "I didn't expect to fail." Tong Di slid in the crowd, and soon returned to King, holding his small chin, muttering thoughtfully. "Mr. Robert has no obvious scars all over his body, only one on his palm. A small black wound with a purple complexion. The cause of death is suspected to be poisoning. The specific situation depends on the police's post-mortem examination." King glanced at Tong Di with his two small eyebrows, then looked at Robert, who was morgue in the living room, covered with white cloth, and the restless guests. He shook his head secretly. He didn't understand reasoning and solving crimes. He probably helped. Not busy anymore. Thinking like this, he immediately closed his eyes and calmed his mind, regardless of these annoying things. Tong Di took a peek at King, who was out of the way, curled his lips, and said to himself, "Before Mr. Robert died, 5 people had left the living room. They were his wife Ai Lu, driver Luya, partner Cindy, and company subordinates. Of all the people present, Greer and me, these 5 are the most suspected of poisoning. Of course, before the case is solved, others are also likely to be murderers." "You are suspicious too." King opened his eyes in surprise and looked at the serious child emperor. The great detective Swarskisold once said that before the truth is revealed, everyone is suspected of committing a crime. Tong Di nodded naturally. King raised his brows and thought to himself, which detective is Swarskisold? Why has he never heard of it? Tong Di continued his nagging. "Elu is a virtuous wife, gentle and virtuous, and doesn't like to show her face." "Well, It's the wife of Robert's ex-wife who died after her death. She has been silently supporting Robert for many years. The driver Luya has already taken the job. For more than 8 years, Robert has trusted him.
Cindy is one of the major shareholders of Mr. Robert's company. The two of them used to start a business together and have worked together for more than 30 years to build today's toy giant. The relationship is extraordinary. Greer is Mr. Robert's secretary. The position of secretary that has access to trade secrets is usually held by a trusted person. Finally, I am Mr. Robert's technology consultant, mainly helping Mr. Robert's company overcome technological problems.
King took a faint glance at the eloquent Tong Di, and continued to close his eyes to rest his mind. He didn't have so much leisure to solve the case. Lazy uncle. Tong Di looked at King, who didn't care about the murder, and he couldn't help but complain. That was one of the directors of the association. As an S-rank hero, don't you have the slightest sense of sharing the difficulties for the association? May Gray walked over with a solemn expression. Tong Di, have you found any valuable clues? Tong Di shook his head. Not for the time being. Maybe you can start with the cause of Mr. Robert's death. Is the cause of Mr. Robert's death? May Gray nodded. I understand, and I will tell them to do an autopsy soon and find out the cause of Mr. Robert's death as soon as possible. Miss Elu, where were you during the time when Mr. Robert died? After removing the suspicion of the guests who had stayed in the living room and had no motive and time to kill, the police officer in charge of the questioning turned his attention to Robert's wife, Elu. Elle is a noble lady, beautifully dressed. She is still charming when she is nearly 40 years old. Her every move is full of elegance. Her frown and smile are more charming. But now, because of Robert's death, there is a touch of sorrow hidden in the delicate willow brows. There is quite a sense of sight that I feel pity for. She thought a little, and then said softly, I was in my bedroom at the time. The officer asked again. I wonder if Miss Ai Lu has a witness? Ai Lu's eyes flickered, hesitated, and finally pointed to the old driver Luya. Because I want Luya to buy some cosmetics for me, so I asked him to come to my bedroom and specifically told him which brands of cosmetics to buy. Bah. Buy cosmetics? You bitch. Let Luana adulterer give you cosmetics, right? At this time, an anger sounded. Everyone turned their gazes to the speaker. It was Robert's only son, Dasta. Dasta had been kneeling in front of Robert's corpse before, and his face was full of grief. He didn't pay attention to anyone. At this moment, he scolded his stepmother.
Dasta was full of anger and pointed at Elu and cursed. You two adulterers asterisk, don't think that the nasty things you do can be hidden from the sky. In fact, my dad has already discovered your adultery. You are preparing to divorce your bitch. You must be unwilling to leave and not get half of my family's wealth. That's why you killed my dad when my dad didn't divorce you and took the opportunity to share it. My family property.
Wow. This news is breaking news. Robert, the world toy tycoon, actually wore a green hat before his death, and Robert finally discovered the adultery between his wife and the driver, and he was ready to take care of the two, but he hadn't done it yet. In this way, Elu and Luya have the motive to kill. The police and the guests looked suspiciously at Elu and Luya, who had a pretty face, and furiously, and wondered whether Elu and Luya were really the murderers of Robert. The police officer said solemnly, Ms. Ailu, when Mr. Robert died, besides Mr. Luya, did anyone see you in the bedroom? Ellen said angrily. Just me and Luya, no one else, Mr. Police. I really didn't kill my husband, and I haven't had any special relationship with Luya. Luya quickly agreed. Yes, I just often help Miss Ailu buy cosmetics. The relationship between the two of us is innocent, and there is absolutely no nasty thing that Master Dasta said. Humph. Dasta snorted and did not continue to speak. In order to divert the attention of others, Luya pointed to Greer suddenly and said, I think it must be Greer who killed the boss. The boss trusted him very much when he was alive. The boss was furious when he found out about the black money. He had already planned to call the police to arrest him. He must have been afraid of going to jail after he discovered something was wrong, so he killed the boss. Wow. Everyone looked at Luya and Greer, stunned, and the inside information became more and more explosive. If a reporter were present, it would be laughed to death. These two pieces of news are definitely worth hundreds of thousands. You are spitting blood. Greer was furious and pointed at Luya and shouted, You adulterer is talking nonsense in order to remove his suspicion. Everyone in the company knows that the boss has a great kindness to me, and I have always been to the boss too. Loyalty. How can you kill the boss? Luya sneered. Have you ever done it? You know it in your heart and your boss knows it too. At this moment, everyone stared at Greer with questioning eyes. Whether he killed Robert or not, if he was selling the company's trade secrets is true, he would definitely have to go to jail. When Greer and Luya were arguing, Elu suddenly looked at Cindy, who was sitting on the sidelines, and said, "Mr. Cindy is here to sell the company's shares, right?" Selling shares. Everyone burst into their hearts and looked at the astonished Cindy in surprise. Selling shares meant abandoning the stock company where they belonged. Robert, a hardcore entrepreneur and important partner, abandoned him. The scene was silent for an instant, and the air was full of embarrassment. Everyone looked weird. Today's scene was a bit hot. Robert died. After that, it was revealed that his wife cheated, the driver stole people, his subordinates betrayed and his friends abandoned them. They couldn't help sighing, if Robert heard the news. "I am afraid they will be resurrected angrily and strangle them to death." However, their thoughts just came up, and a heavy gasp suddenly sounded. Hoo-hoo. The breathing became heavier, and everyone's eyes were cast on Robert's corpse. The white cloth covering Robert's face was falling and falling with the rhythm of breathing. Staring at the undulating white cloth, everyone seemed to feel the heavy breathing spraying on themselves. The face makes people shudder. Robert is resurrected. Everyone turned pale and stepped back subconsciously, staring at Robert's body with wide-eyed eyes, leaning slightly, ready to escape at any time. Is this angry? King looked at Robert, who was breathing in surprise. Tongdi smiled with joy. Maybe Mr. Robert did not die, but temporarily fell into a state of suspended animation. The great medical scientist Schwarzkissold once said, "Some people are dead, but he is still alive." The state is called suspended animation. King frowned. Isn't Schwarzkissold a great detective? How come he became a medical scientist? Tongdi pretended not to hear King's question, and his little face said solemnly, "The person who suspended the death actually didn't really die. As long as the time comes, they will come back to life." King curled his lips. Of course he knew the state of suspended animation, since he came from modern times, and even many rumored corpses were caused by fake death. Not only did Tongdi think of the state of suspended animation, but Maigret also had a flash of inspiration, and said loudly, "Don't be afraid, everyone. Maybe Mr. Robert is still alive. It was just suspended animation just now." Husband. As soon as Maigret's voice fell, Elu twisted her waist immediately, rushed over, and sobbed. "You're not dead, great, great." Roar. Suddenly, a hoarse roar came from under the white cloth, followed by a pair of withered palms quickly protruding out, grabbing Ailu's long and white neck. Ailu was suddenly attacked. Her breathing was suffocated, her pretty face flushed, her fragrant tongue could not help but burst out. Tears burst out. Pear blossoms brought rain. Her hand slapped Robert's strong palm hard, yelling with difficulty, "Help! Help!" This sudden accident caused everyone to be stunned and did not react. "Mr. Robert, stop!" Tongdi and Maigret were equally surprised. Seeing that Elu was about to be killed by Robert, they shouted quickly. "Boss, let go, madam." Luya was shocked and rushed to break Robert's palm, which one he just approached. Robert's palm suddenly let go of Elu, and instead grabbed Luya's ankle fiercely, even holding his fingers like chicken feet. Deeply inserted into Luya's ankle, the blood puffed and ran. "What?" Luya yelled in pain, and his body subconsciously retreated. The powerful force pulled up Robert, who was lying flat, and the white cloth covering the dead suddenly slipped down, revealing Robert's appearance at the moment. Byakugan has no pupils, his face is pale, and his mouth is gray. Crooked. Hiss. His horrible appearance made his spine chill and chills. Daster yelled in horror, "Zombie, zombie, my dad has become a zombie weirdo." Whack? Tongdi's eyes widened. It was the hero's duty to eliminate the weird person, but the weird person in front of him was an important director of the association. What? When Tongdi hesitated, Robert inserted the palm of Luya's ankle and pulled it fiercely. Luya screamed in pain and fell to the ground. Robert was forcibly pulled in front of him. Robert opened his mouth and immediately pointed towards the road. Ya's calf bit down hard, tearing the strong human flesh, and after a while, his mouth was stuffed with bloody and horrible meat. Bang bang. Merrig immediately drew his gun and shot, but what made people trembling was that a bullet hit Robert's body without any effect. Robert seemed to have no pain at all, and turned into a monster that specializes in eating people. Luya yelled in horror, help me, explosive energy bomb."
At this moment, a blue energy projectile came and hit Robert in an instant. With a muffled sound, Robert's head shattered in an instant, and his hideous body immediately stopped moving. After a stalemate, it softened. Fell to the ground.
Ding. There are convertible cards nearby. Please host to convert. An icy warning sound from the system. King breathed a sigh of relief. This guy's weakness really was his head. Robert's head exploded, his brain and blood mixed and splashed and stuck to many people. With Luya's bitten calf, the scene was terrifying for a time. Luya's screams were mixed with the guests' vomiting. More gloomy. Ding. Congratulations to host for getting a 2-star monster card upgraded zombie. After King stepped forward and touched Robert's wreck, he raised his brows and unexpectedly glanced at the dastardly. It turned out that Robert was upgraded to a zombie, as Dasta said. Past movie experience told him that the basic cause of being upgraded to a zombie is usually a virus infection. He then thought that Tongdi said that when Robert died, there was a slight black wound on his palm. Well, it is estimated that he was upgraded to a zombie after he was really infected with the virus. So, who infected Robert with the virus? He glanced at Dasta with a meaningful look, and then clicked on Robert's weird card. Upgraded zombie background. As a result of his wife cheating, the driver stealing people, the secretarial betrayal, friends abandoning and the murder of his son, he has accumulated terrible resentment, coupled with zombie virus infection, and has evolved into an upgraded zombie. Skills. None. Son murdered. The corner of King's mouth twitched, and he already knew who the murderer was. I already know who the murderer is. At this time, a clear sound suddenly rose in the living room, and then a shadow gradually stretched on the wall. This shadow. Is it? Yes, Moore must be here. Moore? Is that the savior of the police and the famous detective of the peace era? The guests stared at the shadows on the wall with wide-eyed eyes, and at the same time a look of trust appeared on their faces. Now that Moore has arrived, the murderer will soon be brought to justice. The corner of King's mouth twitched. Detective Moore, the special name, as clearly the ghost of Tong D's little boy. You can just project when you say projection. After all, I am not the kind of bad uncle who interrupts other people as pretense. But can you put down your school bag? When I am blind? Moore, a well-known detective in Y City, appeared 3 years ago. Whenever there is a murder in Y City, Moore can always appear on the scene in time and rely on his super strong reasoning ability and observational insight. In the homicide investigation, in 3 years, more than 200 large and small cases were solved, and many homicide cases that caused the police headache were solved, so he was hailed as the police savior. However, when Moore appeared, he always showed his face in a shadow and never revealed his true face. People believed that Moore was trying to avoid criminal retaliation, so he concealed his appearance, and every time he cracked a case, he would tell his reasoning in the form of a shadow. To bring criminals to justice. Because of his peculiar behavior, he is also called the Shadow of Truth. Now that Moore appeared, everyone immediately calmed down from their panic. They subconsciously believed that with Moore, the murder case could be detected and the murderer would definitely be caught. The savior of the police. King thoughtfully. This is the reason why Tong Di and the police are acquainted with each other. Dasta's face changed slightly. After thinking about it, he calmly said, compared with the murderer, I think the most important thing is to deal with the zombie virus. After all, none of us knows whether the zombie virus can be transmitted. If the zombie virus will, if it is contagious, then its harm can be terrifying. Roar. As soon as his words fell, everyone's hearts burst, and they subconsciously looked at Lu Ya, who was bitten, and saw Lu Ya no longer screamed in pain. Instead, his veins violently, his face was full of hideousness, and he roared in a low voice. Explosive energy bomb. King raised his brows slightly and glanced at the expressionless DS Tasta. His hand was an energy bomb. Boom. An explosion sounded. Lu Ya received a box of lunch before he completed the zombie transformation. This gentleman is a hero, right? Lei Guangyuan? Both of King's energy bombs are blue, similar to electric light. They were mistaken for lightning source. Everyone curiously looked at King, whose appearance was hidden by the peaked cap, and they all wondered about King's identity. Ahem, guys, this is not the time to pay attention to heroes. The murderer is still at large, which means that the zombie virus may spread. At this time, the shadow of Moore on the wall shook, and the topic was brought back. As long as the murderer is controlled, the zombie virus can be controlled. Otherwise, once the zombie virus spreads, it will inevitably cause turmoil in City Y. King raised his brows and looked straight at Dasta. However, he didn't do anything for the time being. Although there were many signs that the person with the zombie virus was Dasta, he decided to wait for Tong Di to infer the truth in order to avoid wronging good people. The killer was announced after the attack. Mr. Moore, who is the murderer? Everyone finally recalled their dangerous situation, a little commotion, and immediately asked Moore, impatiently. Moore took out a magnifying glass, and shook it, and said in a low voice, there is only one truth, the murderer is. It's me. A sudden voice intervened, directly interrupting Tong Di's performance. DS Tasta. Everyone looked at Dasta in amazement, and instinctively moved away from him. Dasta glanced at the people with weird faces and smiled miserably. Yes, I am the one who killed my dad, and I am also the one who injected my dad with the zombie virus. Moore, can you let me say a few words? Although I knew my murder plan was not perfect, I didn't expect you to see through it so soon. Dasta's face was lonely. Moore laughed and said, the great philosopher Swarovski Soud once said that the embankment of 1,000 miles collapsed in an ant nest. For our detectives, as long as you leave a little clue, then I can find you along the way. The difference is only in speed. Dasta was silent for a while, and said a little bit, can you tell me, when did you determine that I was the murderer? When your father was upgraded to a zombie. So that's the case. Dasta realized and laughed at himself, I was so obvious. He took a deep breath, stared at King, and said solemnly, can I know your name? I want to know. Who did I lose to? Me? King pointed at himself and said with a dumb smile, you made a mistake. It is Moore who inferred that you are the murderer. What does it have to do with me? Moore? Oh, stop joking. As long as the people present are not blind, you can guess that the person pretending to be Moore is the little boy who was next to you before. With the same peaked cap and the same breath, you are father and son? King. Tong Di. Everyone. Dasta said quietly. If I didn't guess wrong, you taught the little boy the fake Moore's reasoning process. From the very beginning, your eyes have been on me. I know, I have already seen through my hidden murderer identity, but, what I did not expect is that you will give this glory to Moore, intending to use Moore's identity to announce the truth of the case, but. He smiled swiftly, you exposed me. The hatred between us has grown stronger. I won't let you hide behind the scenes as you like. I just want to expose you on the spot that you let the little boy fake Moore, so that you can also be exposed. In this way, we are fair. The corner of King's mouth twitched. You have so much imagination. That's right. I guessed that you might be the murderer after I touched the card from Robert, so I took a few more glances at you. However, it's true that Tong Di pretends to be Moore. It's none of my business. Those reasonings have nothing to do with me. You were mistaken. Seeing that he was seen through, Tong Di awkwardly turned off the light, and the shadow on the wall disappeared immediately. He was carrying a small school bag and a lollipop. He reluctantly came out from behind the pillar and watched everyone deductively reason. The person who is the truth is king. He wants to cry without tears. The baby feels wronged, but the baby can't tell. Merrick looked at Dasta seriously. Where did you get the zombie virus? Dasta lighted himself a cigar, took a sip, sprayed the smoke from his nose, and smiled relaxedly. This is an incidental product from a genetic experiment done by my private biological research. Don't worry, there is only one thing, nothing trade to other people. Huh. Merrick breathed a sigh of relief. Once the infectious zombie virus spreads out, the harm will be huge and sloppy will not be tolerated. King squinted at the little ghost Big Tongdi and said, hey, the case has been solved, let's go. Right now the identity of the murderer of Dasta has been exposed, and the police can take over the rest of the matter. They don't need to worry about it. Go back quickly to complete the experimental data collection, so that he can make time for a trip to City Z. Alright. Tong Di pouted his lips, and agreed to King's proposal. Mr. Dasta, please follow us back to the police station for investigation. Merrick seriously issued an arrest warrant to Dasta, and at the same time winked at the police nearby and asked them to handcuff Dasta. Cindy frowned and said, Sergeant Merrick, can you tell him a few words? Merrick thought for a while and said, Mr. Cindy, I hope you hurry up. Thanks. Cindy nodded, and immediately looked at Dasta, who was expressionless. A trace of regret flashed in his eyes, and sighed. Dasta, I watched you grow up. Among your peers, you have always been excellent. It's even Robert's pride, but how did you get to where you are today? Actually, you can even do such a cruel father-killing thing. What are you thinking about? What do you want? Dasta chuckled, then his face changed, and he said grimly, I want him to die. Ha ha. Ha ha. I want him to die. He showed a crazy smile, the blue veins on his face gradually bulged out, his eyes turned pale, and the corpse Madara appeared on his pale complexion, and he was being upgraded to a zombie. Cindy's eyes widened. Dasta, you. Quickly destroy him. Everyone was shocked and hurriedly asked King for help. King raised his brows, opened his palms, and pointed his palms at Dasta, forming a blue wave. Wait a moment. Cindy interrupted King's attack and looked at Dasta sadly. Son, why do you hate your dad so much? Do you know? Your dad loves you very much. He loves you very much. I am here today. It is indeed to discuss with your father about selling the stock, but the person who wants to sell the company's stock is not me, but your father. Does he know why he wants to sell the company's shares? He is for you. Everyone looked at each other with surprise in their eyes. It turned out that it was Robert, not Cindy, who was going to sell the shares. Impossible, impossible. I don't believe it. Dasta screamed frantically. He is always stubborn and self-righteous. He always looks at the new era with his old ideas. What is the theme of this era? It is biotechnology and intelligent robots, but he clung to a few broken toys and didn't let go. He was out of date, but it was nothing. After all, he was old and could not accept new things, but he actually used his ridiculous thoughts to deny and destroy my dreams. He destroyed my dreams. He actually devalued my efforts worthless, saying that my biological research is boom. When Dasta excitedly recounted the causes and consequences of his going astray, a blue wave suddenly fell on him and exploded. His ferocious head was torn like a scoop, and the blood in the brain was mixed like a tofu brain. Cindy stared blankly at the fallen DSTA star who was headshot. Merrick's eyes widened. Tong Di severely crushed the lollipop in his hand, and everyone stared blankly at everything in front of him. F*K. What happened? King put his hands in his clothes kabuto and said coldly, sorry, in a hurry. If you haven't finished speaking, let's talk about it in the next life. The good murder plot made you a soap opera. It's true, no one knows. Am I annoying soap operas? Hey, the matter is resolved, let's go. He pushed the Queen of Tong and walked out of Robert's house under everyone's blank eyes. Tong Di followed behind with a small school bag on his back. The two got into Tong Di's own car one after another, and the robot designed and installed by him drove. Uncle, can you let someone finish talking next time? In the car, Tong Di looked at King bitterly. Only half of Dasta's words were spoken, and half of them were left. This is to kill the obsessive-compulsive disorder. I just feel that there is no need to waste time listening. King leaned on his seat and closed his eyes slightly. He had to catch the train to Z City in the afternoon. How could there be so much free time to accompany them to play soap operas, and the soap operas of rich men who fell in love and killed each other? Were tired of watching them when they were young. Okay? Would you not waste time? After listening to King's words, Tong Di fell silent, pinched his small chin. His eyes lit up. Yes, the great philosopher Swarovski Soud once said, an inch of time, an inch of gold is hard to buy an inch of time. We have a lot of time, but we have very little time. Only by investing the limited time in infinite practice can we become stronger. Uncle King, this kind of mentality of becoming stronger makes me ashamed and admirable. I also want to make good use of my time to become stronger, but you can't let you go too far. By the way, Tong Di, I heard that Robert is your investor? Yeah. Tong Di flipped through Byakugan. However, Robert and his son are dead, and the investment is ruined now. King hugged his chest and looked at Tong Di, and said, it doesn't matter what the kid does with so much money. Tong Di. Don't treat me as a child, I'm also amazing. By the way, Uncle King, this time I not only invite you to help complete the experiment, but I also invite several other heroes. They are already waiting for us in the institute earlier. Wouldn't you mind? There was no emotional change on King's face, and he said, it doesn't matter, anyway, just finish the experiment as soon as possible. Tong Di chuckled, don't worry, it won't take long to collect experimental data for my new invention. Laugh. Not long after, the two arrived at Tong Di's primary school student research institute, which was built by the association specifically for Tong Di and provided him with various experiments. However, due to the shortage of scientific research funds, Tong Di regretted that he had not made such earth-shattering scientific research results, but made a lot of gadgets. This time, Emperor Tong invited King to come to Y City to experiment with his newly invented little thing, a strange spectacle called Nerdy's glasses. According to Tong Di's introduction, the glasses are equipped with the most advanced sensors, which can receive the sound of human muscles shaking and rubbing, and the black technology that predicts the action of the other party based on the shaking frequency. That is to say, after wearing the glasses, the opponent's subsequent actions are all in your master. During the battle, you can see and dismantle the moves, and win the opponent firmly in the moves. As long as the strength is not far away, you can completely crush the opponent by this. This is a battle artifact, almost equivalent to the low-profile version of observation hockey. If the experiment is successful, this glasses will become the standing equipment of the professional heroes of the Heroes Association, which can definitely improve the efficiency and success rate of the heroes in killing monsters. It is the gospel of low-level heroes. Of course, the premise of all this is that the experiment can be successful. Tong Di took King into the primary school student research institute. The research institute is about the size of a football field and is full of various technological elements. There are various robot accessories hanging on the wall. Many semi-finished robots are placed on the ground, and there is a neat open space. There are several robots of various shapes and various high-tech machines for research. Tisk tisk. A little kid can own such an advanced research institute. It is worthy of being the think tank of the association. Tong Di, with a terrifyingly high IQ, a rare child prodigy in 1,000 years. King looked around and was full of emotion. Tong Di actually understood all kinds of advanced knowledge at a young age, and even could independently develop robots. This IQ is no one. I believe many parents will regretfully sigh. Other people's children. Hey, who are Tong Di's parents? King squeezed his chin and thought hard about the information about Tong Di, but he found nothing. Oh, so the uncles have already arrived. In the research institute, 4 people had already arrived earlier. However, none of King knew anyone, but 1 or 2 of them looked familiar, as if they had met somewhere. Hey, Tong Di, what on earth did you call us over? Really, inviting us to refuse to tell us the purpose in advance, there is no sincerity at all. Among the 4, 1 wore a red vest with big trousers, a red boxing helmet, red boxing gloves tied on his hands, a gold belt representing the glory of a professional boxer, and his whole body was muscularly stiff and his vest was supported. When he bulged, his face was even more stiff and full of sturdy breath. Oh, it turned out to be the 9th vest boxer uncle of the B-class hero. I'm really sorry, because the experiment is confidential, so I didn't tell you the specifics the first time. I hope you understand. Tong Di shook the lollipop in his hand and smiled innocently. Vest boxer. King slightly lowered his head to think. In the Heroes Association, there are 2 major hero groups. One is the B-level hero team formed by the Trembling Tornado sister Hell's Fushui. The Fushui group includes many excellent B-level heroes. The largest hero team in the Heroes Association. All members of the Fushui team are wearing suits except Fushui of Hell. Another hero group is the Vest Army formed by the S-class hero vests. In the Vest Army, all members wear vests uniformly. The vest is their symbol. Moreover, they have another feature, that is, the name of the hero. Definitely will carry the word vest, such as vests, tigers, vests, black holes, etc. The vest boxer in front of me is wearing a vest. The hero name contains the word vest. He is 100% from the Vest Legion. No wonder he doesn't have much fear in speaking to Tong Di. As a result, Tong Di is young and immature. His appearance makes it hard to fear. Secondly, he is backed by the Vest Legion, supported by the Vest, and will never talk to other S-rank heroes in a low voice. Tong Di, why did you invite us to your research institute? Can you tell us now? Another hero asked, but this hero spoke with a very polite tone, obviously respecting Tong Di, an S-rank hero. King raised his head to look at the speaker, and saw that the man was thin, with sharp eyes, and wearing a snakeskin suit. Snake. The last hero of the A-rank snake, the snake-shaped handyman. He smiled slightly and finally recognized an acquaintance. He remembered that when Saitama was admitted as a professional hero when he was watching One Punch Man in his previous life, Sneak was responsible for receiving and popularizing the basic knowledge of professional heroes to Saitama. In other words, after he was reborn, he didn't seem to have encountered A-level heroes, but he almost knew S-level heroes. This made him think that the scarcity of A-level heroes exceeds that of S-level heroes, but he did not expect to encounter A-level heroes here. Class Hero 2. It turns out to be the last Uncle Snake of the A-level hero. Tong Di raised his face and said with a smile, I recently invented an interesting new toy. I hope to collect new toy test data and find that it is insufficient to make up for it in time, so under the thousands of choices, I found excellent uncles to help me complete the test experiment of the new toy. Snake is full of black lines. Can you not specifically mention the last? Just say that I am an A-level hero. Among the 4, there is an ordinary staff member of the Heroes Association. After listening to Tong Di's request, he respectfully asked, Tong Di, how do you want us to cooperate with your experiment? Tong Di smiled and said, well, there is nothing special to pay attention to, it's just that you try your best to fight my fighting robots. If you can knock down my robots, or you can stop when you are exhausted. Just knock down your fighting robot. The vest boxer bumped his gloves with his hands, and said relaxedly, it's a piece of cake. As he said, he squinted to the last one who stood aside and didn't speak. A hero, contemptuously said, what do you think, quick boxer? Hey. Hee hee. Kuai Quan Sha wore a white tights and showed his strong tendon flesh to the fullest. On the chest of his tights, a big fist was written violently, indicating his attack method fist. It happens to be similar to the attacking method of a vest boxer. It is no wonder that the vest boxer will be provoked by the vest boxer. However, the vest boxer is a B-level hero, and he is only the 331st C-level hero. The strength is very different, so facing the vest boxer his provocation, he laughed a few times without responding. Hey, vest boxer, don't go too far. Snake frowned as he looked at the provocative vest boxer and warned. This is Tong Di's research institute. If you want to make trouble here, I believe Tong the Emperor will not mind throwing you out. Hearing this, the vest boxer unwillingly put away his owing expression, glanced sideways at Sneak, and muttered, cut, isn't it the last A-level heroes? What's so good about it? Sooner or later I will surpass you. Well, Tong Di, I'm in a hurry, Let's hurry up and experiment. King saw that these people were going to be stiff. He immediately changed the subject. Don't be kidding, he is going to Z City to find Saitama. How can he have time to accompany you in conflict? Okay. Tongdi smiled and nodded, licked the lollipop, and said to the sneak people, you guys wait a moment here, I'll start my fighting robot, and I'll be back in a while. With that, he carried his little school bag and walked to the area where the robot was placed. Huh. Who is this guy? Snake and others finally noticed King at this time, but King covered up his appearance with a peaked cap, and they couldn't see it. Hey, who are you? The vest boxer glanced at King a few times, and said with a curling mouth, what kind of handsome guys are hiding their heads and showing their tails? There are only a few people in the hero circle. Who doesn't know anyone? King was taken aback for a moment. Was provoked. King stared at the vest boxer with his gaze hidden under the peaked cap, and the corners of his mouth were slightly hooked. Since he became famous, few people have dared to speak to him in this tone. This is a commendable rise in the courage of the vest boxer. Senior, his usual method is to take off his hat to pay tribute. However, just as he was about to open the front of the peaked cap in his hand, Tongdi's immature voice came. Hey, uncles, I'm ready. Come here soon. Let's go. Get it back soon. I haven't completed my exercise task today. The vest boxer shook his gloves and walked towards Tongdi with an impatient face. King stopped lifting his hat and laughed blankly, shook his head, put his hands in Kabuto's clothes, and followed several people in a hurry. Uncles, according to the need to collect experimental data, you have to conduct experiments one by one in a specific order. Uncles who are not on their turn, please wait for a while. During the experiment, I hope that you will do your best to attack, so that you can collect more. Thank you for the accurate and useful data. Tongdi briefly introduced the experimental regulations. Experimental order. Snake wondered. Tongdi, what is the specific experiment order for everyone? Tongdi licked the lollipop, pointed at the staff of the association with a smile, and said, this uncle is the second to conduct the experiment. Then, he pointed to the quick boxer again. This uncle is the third. One experiment. Then he pointed to the vest boxer again. This uncle is the fourth experimenter. He paused, and pointed to Snake again. This uncle is ranked fifth experimenter. I see, it turns out that the order of the experiment is determined according to the ranking of the heroes and the level of strength, so to speak. The vest boxing pointed at King and sneered. The first experimenter you didn't announce was him. The combat effectiveness is unexpectedly good. Even the staff of the association can't match it, it seems to be a weak chicken. King. It's the second time. This is the second time that the vest boxer has provoked him. Do you want to take off your hat and pay tribute to his courage? King thought tangledly. No, uncle, you were wrong. Tongdi lightly bit the lollipop, and solemnly said, in the end, this uncle was ranked sixth. That is, the uncle who performed the experiment last. King, of course the uncle must be at the end, otherwise, he would kill my fighting robot with one punch, and subsequent experiments would be impossible. What? He is the last. The vest boxer opened his eyes wide, and said in shock, Tongdi, what reference do you sort by? Snake and the others were equally surprised. If they ranked according to their previous guesses by strength, wouldn't it be said that in Tongdi's mind, the strength of the mysterious man in front of them surpassed them? Tongdi solemnly said, of course it is ranked by strength. Really? Snake and the others were shocked, silently looking at King, who was watching coldly. Who is this person? Can Tongdi think that the strength is the strongest among several people, and he should also be an A-level hero? After all, although Snake is an A-level hero goalkeeper, his strength is indeed hard work, worthy of the name. The strength of this mysterious man can surpass Snake. At least an A-rank hero, or a hero of the pinnacle. An S-rank hero. A-rank hero? S-rank hero. The vest boxer's face was slightly stiff, and he regretted that he had provoked King over and over again. Guru. He subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva and looked at King inquiringly, hoping to figure out the true identity of King, so that he could deal with it well. He is not afraid of each other, after all, he doesn't even respect Tongdi, and he is full of courage, but in view of the mystery of King, it makes him a little worried. The unknown is the most terrible. After Snake turned his gaze around King, he asked Tongdi, then who was the first person to conduct the experiment? Is it number 1? Tongdi grinned and said, the first one is not a human. As soon as the voice fell, he suddenly opened the cover on a rectangular object next to him, revealing the appearance of the rectangular object. Iron cage. Dog. Snake and others were astonished. They looked at the iron cage the size of a small house. Inside the iron cage, there was a ferocious wolf dog. After receiving the light, they barked at everyone, grinning, and showing their ferocity. Tongdi pointed to the ferocious wolf dog and said, "The first experimenter, the hungry wolf dog." Hungry. King was amused, and he dared to abuse the dog brazenly, and was condemned by society for being exposed to caution. Well, the purpose of the first experimenter who chose the dog is to allow everyone to clearly understand the content of the experiment, and everyone carefully watch the battle between the wolf dog and the fighting robot. Tongdi pulled out a remote control from his school bag, and after pressing the red button in it, a clicking sound suddenly sounded in the parking area of the robot. Boom. A Gundam-like robot is walking forward towards everyone. The robot is about 2 meters tall and emits a blue metallic luster. Its mouth is like a slip through the net, and its voice is like a sound from a stereo. Its eyes are inlaid with a pair of strange-looking sunglasses. The most striking thing is that it is carved with 2 golden characters, "Fight," on both sides of its chest. Awakening from the fight, "Master, I am honored to serve you." The fighting robot calmly walked to Tongdi and asked Tongdi for instructions. "Go in and lay down the tired wolf dog inside." Tongdi smiled and directed the fighting robot into the iron cage. He had already set up the program in the central processor of the fighting robot. In the face of an attack from an incoming enemy, the fighting robot would basically not fight back, and would only dismiss it according to the opponent's attack method. Move to defuse the opponent's offensive. It's not so much fighting robots, it's more suitable to be sparring robots. Under the command of Tongdi, the fighting robot stepped into the iron cage and fixedly stared at the wolf dog. Wow. Seeing that the fighting robot broke into its own domain, the wolf dog, coupled with the anger brought by hunger, suddenly barked and rushed towards the fighting robot. Paws stretched forward, mouth open to bite. The fighting robot reported, and immediately reacted relative to each other. The 2 manipulators quickly reached out and grabbed the 2 front paws of the wolf dog, and then snapped back. The wolf dog was thrown out and hit the iron cage. The sore cry of sobs. Roar. The wolfhound was furious and pounced on the fighting robot again, but the result was almost the same. The fighting robot grabbed the front paws and threw it out again. This time, the wolf dog learned well. Instead of simply jumping on it, he circled around the fighting robot and ran behind the fighting robot before launching an attack. However, the fighting robot seemed to have seen the wolf dog go around and quickly turned around again. The wolf dog flew away. This is the castrated version. King watched the wolf dog's offensives being downplayed by the fighting robots and reacted in advance, and resolved them one by one. He couldn't help but think that the sights and sounds in One Piece were also the actions after seeing the opponents in battle, and then made them respond appropriately to keep yourself in an invincible position. However, nerd glasses require the other party to be in their own sight to be effective. They cannot cover all aspects of the surroundings like seeing and hearing, which is quite restrictive, so it can only be regarded as a castrated version of seeing and hearing. Boom. With the last blow of the fighting robot, the wolf dog collapsed in the corner of the iron cage exhausted, struggling twice, and finally got up again after losing the strength. Tongdi licked the lollipop and shook his fingers triumphantly. "Uncles, what do you think of my new invention? No matter which direction the wolf dog attacks from, all the nerd glasses can predict it." The staff of the association lit up. "Master Tongdi, if your experiment is successful, it will be a boon to the heroes. It will be easier to kill monsters in the future, which will greatly improve the efficiency of the association's killing of monsters." Tongdi said modestly, "It's not that powerful. Besides, Nerdy's glasses is still in the experimental stage. It will take a long time to wait until various defects are corrected." The staff flattered. "Even in the experimental stage, you can see the prospects of nerd glasses. It will definitely be a necessary equipment for the heroes of the association in the future. Lord Tongdi can invent significant technology at such a young age, and he will definitely do it in the future. It left a strong mark in the history of human science and technology." "Haha, I'm overwhelmed." Tongdi smiled and said, "But, uncle, now it's your turn to experiment. Please get ready." He greeted the fighting robot, and the fighting robot immediately came out of the iron cage and walked to the staff with a click. "I'm ready long ago and can start at any time." The staff stared at the cold fighting robot and swallowed with difficulty. "Tongdi, do I need to do my best to attack? And it should not attack me?" The vest boxer gave a disdainful cut, curled his lips. "Quit if you are afraid, and no one is forcing you to experiment." "Ha. Ha ha." Master Boxer in the vest laughed. "Of course I am very happy to help Master Tongdi complete the experimental data collection." The staff gave a guilty laugh. "Don't worry, the program I personally set will only defuse your offensive and will never counterattack," Tongdi promised. "The purpose of this experiment is only to collect data. I installed data collection and processing in its head. And the analytical machine, you attack with peace of mind. It will only collect your muscle data and attack data, analyze and process it, and then make the corresponding diffusing action, and will not counterattack you. Understood. The staff sighed, his whole body tensed and his fists clenched. Let's start. Tong Di looked at the staff and the fighting robot with relish. Aha! The staff yelled and hit the fighting robot with their fists. Puff. The fighting robot suddenly raised its hand and immediately opened the palm of the manipulator. Huo Ran grabbed the straight fist of the staff member. The staff slapped a few fists and found that the fighting robot was very deadly and couldn't pull it out, and smiled embarrassingly at the strange faces. King's mouth twitched slightly, thinking with a headache that he would not encounter such an embarrassing scene in a moment. Well, if you have to consume cards and pull out your fists, you can't afford to lose this person. After a while, the fighting robot released its palms, allowing the staff's fists to regain their freedom. Aha! The staff shook their fists and swept their eyes on the fighting robot. His eyes flashed slightly, and he called again, attacking the fighting robot, and the fists went straight out. Idiot. I would fall down twice in the same place, and, this soft fist is the same as an old lady's massage. What is the threat? The vest boxer looked at the staff with disdain to repeat the last action, already predicting the reaction of the fighting robot. King squinted at the vest boxer. Everyone is weak, but I am strong, and shook his head. The quality of the members of the Vest Legion is generally low, and he deserves the title of Mixed Legion. However, what is surprising is that after the staff's weak fist was punched out, he kicked out vigorously under his feet. It turned out that the soft fist was only used to confuse the robot, and all his strength was used on his feet. Ah! The king chuckled. The vest boxer just said that they are stupid, but it turns out that they are not stupid, but smarter. In this way, the vest boxer appears to be stupid. Huh. There will be some useless cleverness. This kind of attack can hit the robot? Are you kidding? The vest boxer glared at King angrily, still commenting on the staff with disdain. Boom. As soon as his voice fell, the muffled sound of a fist hitting the iron plate immediately sounded. King and the others watched in surprise as the fighting robot blocked the staff's kick with its mechanical feet, but the staff's fist hit the robot's chest. Does this count as a successful attack, and the nerd's glasses are wrong? The boxer in the vest was stunned as he watched the staff attack the fighting robot. His face was ashamed. Hey, this fight is too fast. Damn it. He just finished saying that it is impossible for the staff to hit the robot, but the staff immediately hit the robot with a punch. Although it did not cause any damage, it hit the robot after all. Tongdi, didn't you say that nerd glasses can analyze the opponent's attack pattern? How do you explain this scene? The vest boxer exasperated. Your new invention is too unreliable, isn't it? Snake frowned and said, after all, it is a new invention, and it is still in the experimental stage. It is normal for loopholes to appear. King nodded in agreement. Which new thing does not need to be observed and corrected for a while? New technology. There are naturally many loopholes, and the occurrence of errors is entirely expected. It's not a loophole. Tongdi shook the lollipop a few times, and said with a smile, I forgot to introduce it. In the program I instilled in the fighting robot, it will analyze and process the data collected by the nerd glasses, and predict it. The opponent's attack line then reacts relative to each other. However, there are two special circumstances. It will ignore the opponent's attack and will not defend it at all, leaving it alone. Two special circumstances. Snake and the others were taken aback, and asked in unison, what is the special situation? Tongdi raised a finger and said, the first special situation is that the opponent's muscle density is too high and the shaking frequency is too fast, which causes the nerd glasses to be unable to recognize and judge the opponent's punchline. Well, let's just keep it simple. In other words, if the opponent is too strong, the nerd glasses may not work properly. Of course, this situation is limited to the point where the opponent is super strong. Remember, it is the super strong opponent that will cause the function of the nerd glasses to fail. Snake and others asked curiously, what kind of power can make the nerd glasses go wrong? I don't know. Tong Di shook his head. According to my estimation, S-rank heroes such as Super Alloy Black Light can also be predicted to punchlines. Therefore, I don't know how strong it will lead to honored Nerdy's glasses failed. As he said, he paused, glanced at the quiet King, and grinned. Perhaps, as long as it is as strong as King, it may cause the nerd's glasses to fail. King? The strongest man on the surface. Snake and others lost their minds for a while. The name King is really awe-inspiring and admired. So, what about the second special case? In the second case, if the attack power is too weak, the nerd glasses will not be able to collect and process data. King thoughtfully, combined with the actions of the staff just now, he has vaguely guessed the second special situation, either too strong or too weak. Sure enough, Tong Di put up two little fingers and shook them, and said, The second situation is that when the opponent is too weak, he will be regarded as a non-threatening attack by the nerd glasses, so that the nerd glasses cannot be used. Normal work, naturally, it is impossible to analyze the opponent's punchline. Snake and others pointed at the staff with weird faces, that is to say, his attack strength is so low that the robot ignores it, so that the robot does not defend his punch, and was accidentally hit in the chest. With a lollipop in his hand, Tong Di nodded, and said vaguely, "Well, there is not much wrong." With an embarrassing look on the staff's face, the staff said with a dry smile, "Ha. Ha ha. Usually I am too busy at work and neglected to exercise," so everyone laughed. In the two previous attacks of the staff, the first boxing was directly blocked by the fighting robots, and the second boxing was mainly used for kicking, which caused the punching force to be greatly reduced, and the use of muscles was reduced. The glasses test failed. If the attack is too weak, will the robot ignore it? The corner of King's mouth twitched, and he was thankful that he was no longer in the range of too weak. After all, in the attribute board of the system, his power has surpassed ordinary people, even if it is not as good as a C-rank hero, but he is considered strong among humans. People, if you punch with all your strength, there will never be an embarrassing situation of being ignored. Okay. Let Uncle Quick Boxer come on. Seeing that the staff did not seem to be able to provide any useful experimental data, Tong Di directly announced the staff's end and let the C-class hero Kuaipuzi to test. Tong Di reminded Kuei Quan Sha, "Uncle, do your best." Rest assured, I will show my perfect attack posture." The fast boxer was taut all over. The white tight-fitting long-sleeved t-shirt was swollen with muscles, and the black trousers were even tighter, highlighting the rigid muscle lines on his body. He said in a deep voice, "I'm going to attack." Immediately, his fist struck out quickly. One punch was not closed, and the other punch had already caught up. The punch was extremely fast, and there was a sense of sight of rocket ejection, and it reached the chest of the robot in a flash. However, what is even more surprising is that the mechanical body of the fighting robot retreated slightly, and the two mechanical palms quickly blocked the chest, just to hold the fist of the quick boxer. This is not over yet. The quick boxer is full of force. A punch is faster than a punch, and in the blink of an eye, countless fists seem to have appeared in front of King's eyes, and they are hitting the robot like raindrops. However, Quick Boxer's attack is powerful, and the fighting robot's defense is even more amazing. The pair of manipulators shuffled their fists in front of their chests, like Senju Guanyin, appearing numerous phantoms. King was stunned. He was just a C-ranked hero. Shouldn't his punching speed be so exaggerated? 1 minute later. Hoo. Quick Boxer stopped attacking, sweat on his forehead, panting and waving his hand. No, I have no strength. Just 1 minute. King twitched at the corner of his mouth. This stamina is too bad. The feeling that you punch so fast is caused by exhausting the energy of breastfeeding? The vest boxer sneered. It turned out to be a silver wax spearhead, which is not useful. Snake also shook his head. Although this kind of high burst can surprise some relatively weak weird people, it will fall into a disadvantage when encountering an opponent of comparable strength. Hey, the vest boxer uncle, it's your turn. Tong Di licked his lollipop and looked at everything with interest. Crack. The vest boxer twisted his neck, made a creaking sound of bone friction, solemnly put on his gloves, bumped his fists a few times, and snorted coldly. Sometimes, even if you are predicted to move, I can't stop my explosive attack either. He bounced a few times, moved his whole body muscles and bones, adjusted his own state to the best, and immediately made a sudden force of his fist, punch out with a heavy blow, with great strength, as if it could shake the air open. Puff. The fighting robot's reaction was also dissatisfied. When he stretched his palm, he suddenly held down the heavy punch of the vest boxer. However, its mechanical body moved back halfway because of the excessive force of the fist. I'm a little capable. King looked at the vest boxer with enthusiasm. Compared with the quick boxer who pays attention to the instantaneous punch speed, the vest boxer pays more attention to the power of every punch and every blow, almost full of power. Puff. The vest boxer focused on blasting a punch and a heavy cannon. The fighting robot swiftly blocked all attacks. The fist hit the manipulator's palm with a muffled sound, full of power, and the fighting robot was forced to retreat continuously. Snake stared for a while and judged. The vest boxer lost. Quick Boxer breathed a sigh of relief, and agreed. Yes, every punch he has is full of power. Although it will cause great power in the short term, the successor is weak and unable to fight for a long time. This fighting method is not advisable. King squinted at the Quick Boxer. You are a 1-minute man. It seems that the endurance of your fighting style is not qualified to evaluate others, right? Oh, Uncle Boxer in the vest, you can stop if you are tired. I have collected enough reference data, you don't have to hold on. Tongdi looked at the sweaty and panting vest boxer, and said with a grin, my fighting robot can eliminate tiger-level weirdos, coupled with the 8 Ophenard glasses, you won't be wronged if you lose it. Can you defeat the tiger-level monster robot alone? King thought thoughtfully, a little worse than the Metal Knight. If I remember correctly, the Metal Knight robot has the power of a ghost-level disaster. Damn it. The vest boxer unwillingly punched the ground, gritted his teeth and stared at the fighting robot, wishing to knock the opponent down with one punch. Unfortunately, he attacked many times and still couldn't knock down the fighting robot, so he had no choice but to accept defeat and exit. It's me next. Snake shook his arms a few times, warmed up, and walked to the fighting robot. He screamed, "Ayo," and arched his fingers like grilled chicken feet, simulating Lion Majesty's attacking form. A class hero, Lion Majesty Snake, please advise. He introduced himself solemnly like a master in ancient times. Tongdi blinked, the last one. Snake's face turned dark. Can you not mention the last? Isn't the last a level hero not an A-level hero? Okay. Please start your competition. Snake-shaped tricks. Snake's hands are like two snake heads, and they suddenly point to the joints of the fighting robot. Whether it is a real person or a robot, the joints are always weak points. His attack speed is extremely fast, like Lion Majesty eating people. Blinking, seeing his tricky hand hit the robot's joints, who knows, the robot twisted the joints like a divine help, abruptly avoiding him. Attack. It's interesting, let me do one more trick. Snake couldn't make a hit, shaking his hands, his two arms turned into a soft sword, and he continued to click on the fighting robot. The attack direction was strange and tricky, just like Lion Majesty. However, the robot seemed to be prepared for a fight, and the manipulator slapped Snake off one by one. Snake raised his brow, his arms seemed to be boneless, and he took advantage of the situation to wrap the arm of the fighting robot like a twine, and the cock-shaped hands slammed the shoulder joints of the fighting robot like a chicken pecking at rice. Clang. However, Snake's moves were weird and tricky, but the fighting robot seemed to be a roundworm in his body. It was clear about his moves, and the manipulator's palm stretched out and directly stopped his tricky hand. Worthy of being an A-rank hero. King watched Snake and the fighting robot attack and defend back and forth, his eyes brightened, and he finally saw the fighting power of an A-level hero. Compared with the heavy punch of the vest boxer and the quick punch of the quick boxer, Snake the snake-like tricky hands pay more attention to the weird attack methods. Judging from the scene, Snake's combat effectiveness is obviously better than that of a vest boxer, and it can actually force the fighting robots to scramble for defense. Boom. After being blocked by another move, Snake flipped back, took a few steps back, and stared at the calm fighting robot, shocked in his heart. The effect of the nerd glasses invented by Tongdi is so amazing, it is really true. I can see through my every move, even though the original fighting robot is a little weaker than me, but it has such a weapon. The battle has not yet started, I have already lost half of it. How can such a guy beat it? He thought for a while, and took a deep breath. It seems that I can only attack the eyes. As long as the eyes are destroyed, I can be free from the hands and feet, and completely release my combat power. At that time, it is only time to defeat it. Problem. He made up his mind and focused his attention on the eyes of the fighting robot, where nerd glasses are embedded, which is also the secret of the fighting robot's invincibility, and of course the biggest weakness of the fighting robot. However, the fighting robot has nerd glasses. If his attack intention is very obvious, it will obviously be seen and resolved by the robot. Snake stared at the motionless fighting robot, thinking quickly in his mind. People have a certain reaction time when facing external things. Robots and technology glasses also have processing time, as long as their attack speed is faster than its reaction time. Can definitely knock its eyes out. Snake dances. He narrowed his eyes, his hands shot out like lightning, and a dozen arm shadows swayed in a flash, like a dozen Lion Majesty attacking a fighting robot. However, Snake's plan is very beautiful, but the reality is cruel. I saw that the fighting robot did not react at all when facing his dazzling attack. It seemed to have seen everything and only treated Snake's attack as a clown's performance. Damn it. Seeing that the fighting robot was unmoved, Snake was annoyed. The snake-headed hands scattered the phantoms and directly hit the fighting robot's eyes. Clang. Not surprisingly, the fighting robot grabbed the two manipulators in front of his eyes and directly grabbed Snake's wrist, destroying his attack again. Oh, I surrendered. Snake stared at the understated fighting robot and smiled bitterly. Tongdi, the nerd glasses you developed are too powerful for martial artists. Naturally restrain us martial artists. For martial artists who rely on moves to eat, nerd glasses can see through their moves, which is simply a nightmare. A robot that is not very powerful can even get a tie with Snake after installing the nerd glasses. This gadget has greatly improved the combat effectiveness, or. I also asked Tong Di for a pair. King felt his chin and thought. Hey, the guy who hides his head and shows his tail, don't be stunned anymore, it's your turn to play. The vest boxer said, holding his chest. I want to see how good you are. Are you eligible to be ranked above us? Tong Di licked the lollipop, his small eyes were sparkling, and he was full of expectation. Uncle, it's your turn to play. Oh yes. Do it lightly, my robot can't stand your attack. Snake and the others also stared at King closely. They also wanted to see how strong King was in combat, and they wanted to know which God King was in the end. King didn't speak. He just came and walked through the scene to assist Tong Di to collect experimental data. There was no need to do his best, just a hard blow, and he would not be ignored by the fighting robots and just perfunctory. In the system's attribute board, his strength has reached 7 points, surpassing ordinary people. He only needs to concentrate and hit hard. According to the situation of the staff of the association just now, his attacks will never be ignored by the fighting robots. He slowly walked up to the tall fighting robot, took a deep breath, and drew his fists to his chest, posing an awkward attacking pose commonly used by boxers. Haha, this boxing action can't be amateur anymore, is he here to be funny? As a former boxing professional, the vest boxer can see through the jerky of the King's boxing action at a glance, and it is not an exaggeration to describe King as do not know boxing at all. King ignored it, his eyes were fixed on the fighting robot, his fist was squeezed suddenly, and his entire strength was concentrated on his right arm. Tong Di stared at King intently, with a bit of excitement on his small face. First, he was happy to see King fighting with his own eyes, and second, he was happy to be able to collect King's attack data. The Emperor punches. King gathered his strength for a while, clenched his right fist tightly, pulled it back, and then slammed out again, hitting the fighting robot's chest. This kind of strength is at best a strong blow, right? This kind of attack will be ignored, right? Snake and others frowned, and felt that the strength from King's fist was very small, comparable to that of a child. This level of attack strength was set according to the lower limit of the nerd's glasses, and would definitely be regarded as non-threatening. Tong Di looked at King's punch, his little face was confused. What an ordinary punch. Is this an attack from King? Call. King's fist suddenly hit the fighting robot's chest while Snake and the others knew everything. During the impact of his fist, the fighting robot didn't react at all. Ignored? He saw that his fist was about to hit the fighting robot's chest. The fighting robot still had no intention of defensively. He immediately stopped his fists, and the whole person stiffened and was very embarrassed. Fighting robots will choose to ignore only in two situations. One is that the opponent is too strong, and the other is that the opponent is too weak. King obviously does not belong to the type of too strong. Then the reason why the fighting robot ignores him can only be determined by the attack of the King. No threat. My attack is harmless. King stared at the motionless, innocent fighting robot. His fists froze in midair. His attack was considered harmless, and even the ordinary staff of the association could not compare with a dog. This is so special. It's so embarrassing. Quiet. Silence. Deathly silence. The few people present stared blankly at King, who kept his punching posture. Calm, keep calm. King took a deep breath and slowly retracted his posture. He was puzzled. His strength should surpass the staff of the association, and the punch should surpass the staff's attack just now. Why would the fighting robot fail to respond by himself? Is the fighting robot broken? He glanced at the fighting robot suspiciously. Snake and several people also have the same suspicion. Even a dog can make a fighting robot react. In theory, a normal human punch will definitely be within the detection range of nerd glasses. The fighting robot should respond. Perhaps only broken will cause the fighting robot to be indifferent when facing King's punch. Wong. At this moment, the wolf dog in the iron cage finally regained its strength after a period of rest, taking advantage of the iron cage's door to be unlocked, rushed out from inside, and fought against the robot. Tongdi's eyes lit up and he commanded loudly, "Fight, report the next attack route of the wolf dog." Receive. After the fighting robot answered coldly, the mechanical eyes flashed slightly, and coldly said, "The target is about to take off and attack my breastplate." As soon as its synthetic electronic sound fell, the wolf dog seemed to have a sharp heart, kicked on its limbs, barked, and jumped up, showing its sharp claws toward the chest of the fighting robot. Laugh. The fighting robot seemed to see through everything. After a little bit of its body, the wolf dog missed from in front of it and rushed to the ground. The target is about to turn around and jump, open his mouth and bite my leg. The fighting robot reported coldly. Sure enough, after the wolf dog landed, he unwillingly rushed to the fighting robot, and the goal was directed at the fighting robot's calf. What happened in front of us showed that the fighting robot was not broken, and that nerd glasses were also working normally. Then the king's punch attack did not cause the fighting robot to react. There are only two explanations. One is that the king's punch was too strong and exceeded the upper limit of the detection of nerd glasses. The second is that king's punch is too weak, and it is lower than the lower limit of detection of nerd glasses, which is regarded as a non-threatening attack. King's heart collapsed. His own affairs knew that his punch did not cause a reaction from the fighting robot. It was definitely not because it was too strong, it was definitely too weak. System, you will show it to me and explain my current situation. Did you make a mistake? Obviously, the attribute board clearly shows that his power has 7 points, and his power is definitely more than that of the staff of the association. Why can't it cause the reaction of the fighting robot? This is unreasonable. Ding, the system did not find any loopholes, all data is normal. The system quickly responded, indicating that everything is normal. King is now at a loss. The fighting robot has no operating errors, and the system has no operating errors. Could it be that I made a mistake myself? Could it be said that the power of my punch really exceeded the detection limit of nerd glasses? No. Whether it is the bright 7-point strength on the system's attribute board, or the soft muscles on my body. Wait a minute. Yes. Why am I still soft? Shouldn't I be a muscular man with 7 points of strength? He was startled slightly, and hurriedly asked the system, "Hey, system, did you forget to change my body?" The system said coldly, "Ding. This system is not a biological hormone and does not come with the function of modifying the host's body." King was stunned. If I don't change the function of my body, how does my strength increase? Ding. Please refer to mecha. Mecha? King was dumbfounded. I became stronger because the system gave me an invisible mech. In addition, the so-called card possession is actually based on the same principle as mechas. I just boarded various weird mechas to fight. My body's power, the correct attributes such as defense are nothing more than improving the invisible mecha around me. It has nothing to do with my own body. In other words, in fact, I am still the dead body of King, and my real strength is a weak chicken. This fact is so cruel, at the same time. This strength. The corner of Sneak's mouth twitched. Is this someone whose strength is above me? Does the weak punch hide the strength or the real level? Quick Boxer is also surprised. This man is a joke that Tong Di made to us, right? How can this strength surpass us? Tong Di narrowed his eyes, and he was indeed king. The power of an ordinary punch exceeded the detection limit of nerd glasses. From the outside, the power of that punch is completely invisible, if not. Knowing that the person is king would not make people value this soft punch at all. How to describe this kind of unremarkable realm mixed with monstrous power? Returning to the basics, yes, King's realm has reached the point of returning to the basics. There is power in the ordinary. What a terrifying uncle. The vest boxer froze for a moment, and then burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, no response. I thought it was a powerful hero, it turned out to be a bear. Oh no, bears are not so weak, even a dog can do it. Let the robot feel threatened, but he didn't, he is not as good as a dog. Snake, who was the last A-level hero, was already very upset. He didn't expect an unknown, unobtrusive guy to come and press him again. If that guy's strength is very strong. That's all, he didn't expect the weakness to be so ridiculous, so he was not happy, and it was an insult to him to let such a guy crush him. Tongdi frowned and said lightly, "Uncle Boxer in the vest, you are wrong. In front of this uncle, maybe we are not as good as a dog." The vest boxer was startled and sneered. Tongdi, you can really make a joke. I admit that there are many people stronger than us in the world, but who has the strength to treat me as a cat or a dog? If you only count himself, there are really so many people who can kill him in seconds. But if you count Tong Di, an S-rank hero, who can say that they can kill them in seconds? Tong Di licked the lollipop, glanced at King, his face solemnly said, "Yes. Uncle King is too strong. A normal punch exceeds the detection range of nerd glasses. The strength is far superior to other S-rank heroes such as Super Alloy Black Light." Have? Snake looked at the determined Tong Di, his heart moved slightly, his eyes narrowed. Perhaps there is, the one that claims to be the strongest on the surface. Man. Quick Boxer took half of Snake's words in awe. If anyone can think of them as ants, there is probably only that man. Tong Di, there is a limit to jokes, we are adults, so we don't have time to listen to your kids' jokes. The vest boxer curled his lips, pointed at King and laughed. Moreover, what do you think he has in his body? Mystery? It's constipation. Boom. Before he finished speaking, the people suddenly flew out like a broken kite and hit the iron cage with a sonorous and clear sound. Ahem. Which bastard attacked me? Lousy killed you. The boxer in the vest grinned in pain and was full of anger. He was about to stand up to see which bastard was hitting him without opening his eyes. A figure stood in front of him suddenly, and he suddenly raised his head and saw one. Wearing a white sweater, a black peaked cap, a cold face, 3 hideous scars. His pupils shrank suddenly, such a look. This aura. The 3 scars. Hey, I seem to have provoked an incredible big man. King. I am very upset now. When Snake's pupils shrank, and he stared at King, who teleported to the vest boxer in shock. What speed is this? Who is he? Is it the Shining Flesh who is known for his speed among the S-class heroes? That's not right. The stinky girly gun of the Shining Flesh will never appear in this outfit. The person in front of you is absolutely impossible to be a Shining Flesh, so who is this person in front of him? He has terrifying speed, but a punch attack has never caused a reaction from the fighting robot. According to Tong Di, the nerd glasses will only fail when it is too strong or too weak. He thought this mysterious guy was too weak. It will cause the fighting robot to fail to respond, but judging from the horrible speed just now, this guy is absolutely terrifying. How could nerd glasses ignore his attack? Or did this person conceal his strength and deliberately hit a soft punch, causing the nerd glasses to fail? Fast speed. Kue Quan Sha stared at King's back with a dumbfounded look. This man is a ghost, right? Oh no. Uncle King is angry. Tong Di's heart shuddered, with an anxious look on his small face. Although the vest boxer is very annoying, he is still a member of the association's working hero anyway, and he is also the person he invited over. If he died in his own research, it will be very troublesome. 3 scars. The fighting robot didn't respond. It's definitely the man. It's awful. I even scolded him for being inferior to a dog. I've gotten into a terrifying character. I'm dead. The vest boxer stared in horror. His face was full of fear. His body shrank subconsciously and leaned hard against the iron cage, and even squeezed his butt on the iron cage, as if to squeeze the iron cage to escape. King looked down at the vest boxer blankly, cursing the system in his heart, cheating, adding strength and defense and other attributes, which is equivalent to equipping a layer of invisible armor, and his physical condition has not changed. That is to say, I am from beginning to end. It's all that dead otaku. Damn it. Crazed in his heart, he raised his feet and kicked the frightened vest boxer into the air. His fists hit the vest boxer like machine guns. In an instant, he hit hundreds of punches on the vest boxer completely. The vest boxer serves as a venting bag for boxing practice. Are you going to save people? Snake saw the vest boxer being beaten so miserably, even if he knew that the vest boxer deserved it, but as a hero, how could he watch a life die in front of him? Let's talk about colleagues, and they should also help if they are reasonable. He took a deep breath, drew a semicircle under his feet and staggered, squeezing his hands into a snakehead shape and squeezing his hands before attacking. Well, it seems that the other party is very strong, we have to be careful. Quick Boxer looked at King dignifiedly, his body upright and his muscles tight. As a hero, he would never watch an innocent person lose his life, even if that innocent person is the one he hates. Let go of him, or don't blame us for being impolite. Snake and Quick Boxer looked at King coldly, their muscles tense, ready to attack at any time. Tong Di was also shocked. Uncle King, he is merciful, no matter how annoying he is also a hero of the association. If you kill him, it will be very troublesome. Please spare his life. King? Snake and Quick Boxer stiffened, and the serious expressions on their faces instantly solidified. Is this mysterious guy King? They were full of disbelief, but after thinking about it carefully and reasonable, perhaps only a punch from King can cause that nerd's glasses to fail. Before, they thought that King deliberately pulled back his strength and caused the fighting robot to fail to respond, but there is no reason for King to do this to improve his reputation. Stop making trouble, does King, who is known as the strongest man, still need to improve his reputation? King deliberately teased everyone. Oh, the strongest man on the surface would not have such a bad taste. Guru. The two of them swallowed together. What a ridiculous idea they wanted to shoot at King just now. It is really lingering in retrospect. If they had just shot, they would have been punched to the head by King. What's more frightening is that the power of King's punch exceeds the detection limit of nerd glasses. Tong Di said before that even if it is a superalloy black light attack, nerd glasses can detect his attack route. That is to say, the strength of King is at least a lot more powerful than the superalloy black light that is also an S-rank hero. He is really a terrible man. Is that the man? The staff of the association stared and gasped, that man. The idol of men, the object of women, that strong and terrible man. Huh. King paused, looked at Snake and Quick Boxer sideways, and asked quietly, You want to shoot at me? Snake and Quick Boxer seemed to be pinched around their necks, their faces blushing. They were making international jokes. How could they have the guts to attack King? In desperation, Snake coughed dryly. Ahem, actually we think that people like vest boxers are not worthy of your hands. We can do it for you. To tell you the truth, I have long wanted to beat this hate. The bastard. Quick Boxer's eyes lit up, and he nodded. Yes, that's right, Lord King, take a break. Let us help you beat this guy. I told you, this bastard has been taunting me just now, and I have tolerated him for a long time. I can't wait to interrupt his two dog legs. Now I can't bear it. You can rest aside and let me hit him a few times. Yeah, Uncle King, you don't want to be angry with this uncle who is stubborn. Tong Dijang took King aside and persuaded him with all his heart. King secretly flipped through Byakugan angrily. He wasn't angry with the boxer in the vest at all, but the bastard of the chi system. Unfortunately, the system was hiding in his body and hitting it was equivalent to hitting himself. There was no other way but to shout. The vest boxer vented his fire. Of course, he can't beat a vest boxer himself, and he can have such a fast speed, entirely with the help of the power of the Samsung monster card Velociraptor. Fortunately, with the Velociraptor monster card, he successfully rose to a level. Name: Wang Feng. English name: King. Level 13. Experience value: 41,378,000. Stamina: 16. Strength: 7. Speed: 16. Defense: 38. Lucky value: hidden attributes, can't be viewed, can't be changed. Attribute points: 5 skills. 1. Liquid Jet LV1. Jet liquid out to attack the enemy. 2. Explosive Energy Bomb LV2. Collect the surrounding energy and launch an energy bomb like a laser cannon. 3. Strengthen Transformation LV2. Strengthen your own abilities and make your skills more powerful. 4. Flying LV2. As the messenger of the earth, you can fly freely in the earth. Skill points: 11 cards. 4-star monster card Desire Arbitrator, 3-star monster card Tyrannosaurus. Special card: No star card X1 Warm Reminder. 1. Every attribute of a normal person is 5. Full value is 100. 2. The power of the skill depends on the level and is not affected by the character itself, but the number of times the skill is released is affected by the power attribute. Help! Help, King Crazy! The vest boxer screamed miserably with a blue nose and a swollen face. You're just begging for help. Snake saw that the vest boxer was about to talk crazy again, and he immediately stepped forward, interrupting the vest boxer for a while. Beat him. Quick Boxer rushed into the battle group and beat the vest boxer. Don't fight. The vest boxer screamed again and again, like a pig. King looked at Snake and the Quick Boxer coldly. He is not a fool. How can he not see the purpose of the two? It is false to help him beat people. It is true to protect the boxer with the help of beating. However, he did not intend to kill Heart, so I don't bother to care about their careful thinking. A high energy response is found ahead. Just as Snake and the Quick Boxer happily beat the vest boxer, a cold mechanical sound suddenly came, and immediately there was a muffled explosion on the walls of the elementary school student research institute. Boom. The wall crashed down, shaking up a cloud of dust. Warning. Warning. Detect an enemy attack. Detect an enemy attack. The protection system of the elementary school student research institute immediately sounded an alarm. Within a short time, a beeping beep sounded in the research institute. At the same time, the eyes of the robots who had been quietly staying in the robot area were lit up and their paces turned to be blown up in unison. Walls. Click. Their mechanical bodies made an engine-like sound, twisted their hands and feet a few times, and then quickly stepped forward, rushing to the destroyed wall for the first time to protect the safety of the institute. Who is it? Snake and Quick Boxer, who were beating the boxer in the vest, were taken aback by the sudden explosion and stared blankly at the smoke-filled wall. Hey, Tongdi, do you have any enemies? King looked astonished. Tongdi's primary school student research institute was actually blasted. Which culprit was the one who ate the guts of the bear's heart and leopard? Listen to the sound. It should be a robot. Tongdi stared solemnly at the wall covered by dust. The robot. Then who sent this robot over? After all, robots are different from weirdos. There must be a maker behind each robot. Who is the maker of the robot that attacked the primary school student research institute? Is it a doctor? Robot? King nodded in agreement. The cold mechanical voice was very similar to the system rooted in his brain. It was indeed a robot. The dust slowly dissipated, and the field of vision gradually became clear. The wall was blasted through a hole. However, no robot was found, and no robot-related sounds were heard, as if the robot had never appeared before. What about people? Just a shot and you left. just a simple provocation. King and others were puzzled. Boom. However, just as everyone was wondering, a tall figure suddenly appeared on the wall, like a moving truck, which directly smashed the wall of the primary school student research institute. Dust was raised under the wall again, but this time there was a looming tall figure in the dust. Figure. Beep. Found the target. Didi, the goal is confirmed. The icy electronic synthesis sound was heard again in the dust. Tong Di, it really is for you. King glanced sideways at Tong Di, who was frowning his eyebrows, and chuckled. Tong Di has enemies too. There is a good show here. Click. The tall figure stepped out of the dust, the sound of mechanical joints rubbing constantly, giving people an oppressive momentum. Sure enough, it is a robot driven by artificial intelligence. As the tall figure walks out of the dust, it finally reveals its true face. The robot is nearly 3 meters high. The mecha head has only one electronic eye, and the rest is all wrapped in metal, such as wearing an ancient combat helmet. At the same time, it is made of pitch black metal. It seems to be wearing an ancient armor, with rigid lines, cold modeling, and perfect proportions. It is like a fierce gorilla, and like the powerful Gundam in the movie. The most coquettish thing is that it actually carries a big broad sword and is wearing a fur cloak, like a noble admiral army. The intruder will stop, otherwise it will be killed. The fighting robot led several other robots to intercept in front of the robot. Those who block, kill without mercy. However, Gundam was more direct, glanced between the fighting robots of the same kind, and slammed the 2-meter-long broad sword behind him and swept forward, sweeping across the army. Click. Click. Surprisingly, under the sword of the Gundam robot, he was stunned to chop the fighting robot and other elementary school robots in two. Snake and the others were dumbfounded. Is this the robot that abused them just now? Was it done like cutting melons and vegetables? Oops, because the fighting robots are equipped with nerd glasses and I modified the settings, they will only respond according to the predicted results of the nerd glasses, if the nerd glasses fails. They will also ignore the enemy's attack. Tong Di bitterly said, the working principle of the nerd glasses is to predict the opponent's attack route based on the opponent's muscle activity, but now they are facing robots. Robots don't have muscles, so in the face of a robot's attack, the nerd glasses are completely ineffective, causing the fighting robots to also turn into non-attack wood, allowing the opponent to chop them into two pieces, at every turn. Oh, I got it. Snake and the others suddenly realized that they were relieved. They thought that the fighting robot was chopped into two parts with a sword just now because the Gundam robot in front of them was far more powerful than the fighting robots. Now, after Tong Di's explanation, they realized that it was the fighting robots that they met the nemesis. This is also a restriction. King thoughtfully, the nerd's glasses, took a sharp look, but now it seems that there are still many unsatisfactory places, which must be changed and improved to be more useful. With a bitter face, Tong Di asked King for help. Uncle King, judging from the robot's attack just now, its strength is very strong. At least it has the strength of a ghost-level disaster weirdo. Uncle Snake may not be able to cope with it, you help, solve that robot. King curled his lips, I don't want to interfere with your troubles. I rely on ghost-level disaster-level robots. If I want to clean up, I need at least a 3-star weird card possessed, and now I still possess a Samsung. Weird card. Velociraptor, but who knows the specific strength of that robot? What if you can't beat it yourself? Besides, Tong Di is an S-rank hero, and his combat power must not be underestimated. A robot that can deal with a ghost-level disaster should have no problem, where he needs to be strong. Click. After the Gundam robot has solved the guarding robots that were in the way, he lifted his feet and crossed them, walked not far from King and others, and looked at each other. It raised its big broadsword and aimed at King, coldly. Said, my name is G1. It is a combat robot created by the organization. You are the strongest hero. King. Huh. Organization? It's for me. King looked dumbfounded. Hey, you were wrong. How could a dead otaku like me have an enemy? King. I'm here to get rid of you. Hey, are you too arrogant? Do you know who you are facing? He is the strongest man on the surface. King. Snake saw that G1 arrogantly opened his mouth to get rid of the king, who was recognized as the strongest man, and ignored them at all. It simply ignored them. Damn it. A guy who only talks. The vest boxer slowly stood up, rubbed the bruises on his body, and looked at G1 with disdain. Come on, let this uncle teach you what fighting is. Quick boxer clenched his fists and said with a serious face. Don't underestimate us, our strength may not be strong, but we are definitely not weak. The staff of the association looked at the 3 high-spirited ABC heroes and listened to their passionate battle declarations. He only felt that his whole body was boiled with enthusiasm and exploded. With red eyes, he clenched his fists and yelled at G1. The guy who doesn't know the height of the sky. Dare to challenge the strongest man king. Huh. I think your master wants to scrap you, but can't bear to remove it by himself. The child, made by myself. That's why I sent you over to challenge the king, just to let the king destroy you as a waste. Enlighten. The four sneak roared passionately and rushed to G1 desperately. It's so burning. I actually made them provoke an urge to fight. King looked at Snake and the others bravely, his eyes bursting with eager sparks, and there was an inexplicable urge to fight with them in his heart. You are not the target, get out of me by the blocker. G1's one-eyed turned slightly, and a cold voice came from its body, and immediately rushed towards Snake and the others with its body movement. Boom boom boom. The sound of a sharp blow suddenly fluttered within the institute. Bump and bump. The sound of crashing without muddy water followed. Ah. Good. So strong. Not an opponent at all. Pretend to be dead, you should be able to escape. The four of Sneak were directly hit by G1 with 3 punches and 2 feet, and hit the walls, iron cages and other objects. They were in pain as if they fell apart, and they were unable to stand up and continue fighting. The strength of G1 can be seen from this, Madara, which is a bit scary. Hey, don't solve the battle so easily. What should I do? King looked at Snake and the others, sighing in his heart. Sure enough, he was dying fast, and he was so passionate. I should be a quiet dead otaku. After G1 settled the battle lightly again, the big broadsword in his hand pointed at King, and said coldly, King, this time is the performance test of my battle so. Let's fight with all my strength. Combat performance test. Tongdi frowned and lowered his head to think, is he really a doctor? Only a doctor's robot can experiment with its own power so unscrupulously, right? What the hell? It turned out to be a guy who asked me to do an experiment. Tongdi invited me politely. The guy in front of me was Hockey's challenge to me. The strongest name killed people. King took a deep breath, his heart pounding and speeding up. He understood that the person behind the scenes of G1 is not his enemy at all, but is for his strongest name. The purpose is to challenge him to collect G1 combat data, thereby improving G1. This is simply cheating. If he wants to wear the crown, he must bear the weight. He wears the strongest crown, and realizes that this crown is so heavy. Maybe one day it will crush his thin body. He looked at Tongdi, hoping that Tongdi could take action to solve G1. After all, G1 broke into Tongdi's research institute, and when he appeared, he would destroy Tongdi's robots like cutting melons and vegetables. Reason: there is a lot of resentment between Tongdi and G1. It is very possible that Tongdi will solve G1. Which one? Tongdi seemed to feel the look in King's eyes, holding his chest and curling his lips. I don't want to interfere with your troubles. King's face turned dark. This bear kid. Cheating. I really want to hold him down and beat his little ass, and educate him about the story of Mulan's going to expedition on behalf of his father. Of course, that was just his wishful thinking, and if he really fought, he might not have beaten Tongdi. His face hidden under the peaked cap gradually became ugly. This is over. If Tongdi doesn't help, he can only solve G1 by himself. Is it necessary to spend a 4-star monster card on G1? It's not worth it at all. At this moment, his heartbeat speeds up slowly because of nervousness, anxiety and other emotions. 2-2. 2-2. 2-2. As King didn't answer G1's question, the scene fell silent for a while. Only an engine-like sound gradually raised, echoing continuously in the institute. Engine? Is this King's imperial engine? Has King entered a state of combat? Now I don't have to pretend to be dead. I have to stare wide and watch the King's battle. Maybe I can learn some valuable fighting skills. After all, this kind of strong fight is hard to see. Snake sat up with difficulty, looking for an object to lean against, staring wide-eyed, staring at King and G1 for an instant, never allowing a single detail to be missed. Hey, King, what do you mean? Do you look down on me when you put on a pose full of flaws? G1's one-eyed stared at King tightly, and said coldly, you give me seriousness. Only you can do your best. The battle data I collected was the most useful in the battle I went to. If I kill a king full of flaws, then the data collected is completely useless. King's eyes lit up, as if he had found a way to avoid trouble. He relaxed and made his body more slack, like a decadent person. I should have more vulnerabilities now. You can't collect useful data when you shoot me. Go ahead, or change the challenge object to Tongdi. Anyway, it is impossible for me to fight with all my strength to satisfy your wishes. Damn it, King, take it seriously for me. The person I am going to kill is the strongest man who fights with all his strength, not a waste man. The G1 robot was furious, and due to the state of King, it did not attack. Hello, your robots are really single-celled organisms. Do they never think about problems? The boxer in the vest looked at the wrangling G1 and sneered. Everyone knows that whenever the Emperor's engine sounds, it's the king who enters. When you are fighting, don't underestimate the position of King's flaws. This is his strongest fighting stance. It looks flawless, but there are no loopholes at all. No matter which flaw you attack, you will suffer the most terrifying attack from King. This is the strongest man. King. I see. G1 machinery's gaze condensed, and the big broadsword aimed at King. King, get ready to fight. Puff. King's heart spit out old blood. Is this F*K the pig opponent and the pig teammate playing the double? He took a deep breath and looked up at the vest boxer coldly. This kid was still itchy less beaten.